Hello. It is the week that we talk about resumes and cover letters. And I've been telling you for weeks, every time that I do a video lecture, this is my favorite day, right? This is my favorite information because I love all of it. I'm very passionate about everything that we do in this course. But the truth of it is, this today, this is my favorite. This is a subject, this is a very specific set of information that I have been teaching for 15 years. I have tweaked it, I have added to it, I have taken away. I try to keep up with current trends, things that are going on in the world of resumes and cover letters, because I want to give the very best information that I can to you. I did take some time last year and I exchanged information with Samantha Corraro in our career services department. And I discovered that what I'm teaching in the classroom aligns with what our career services department at TCC is also giving to students. And that was way exciting for me to know that I'm on target with my own research, things that I've discovered, things that have worked for me as I have furthered myself along my career journey and ended up in my dream job, which is something I want for all of you. So, how do we get there? Well, we start with everything that we've done so far in this class. We have to understand that your life is your argument. How you conduct yourself, whether it is how you dress or how you walk, how you talk. We looked at all that last week with our nonverbals. And then going all the way back, we've discussed what argument is and what argument is not, and how we incorporate argument into our day to day life. How are we going to allow our argument skill to further us along these career paths that we so desire? So very exciting. So, today we're going to make this very practical. Practical in the sense that the argument that you're going to build with your cover letter and your resume and your reference sheet say everything to an employer about whether or not they are going to be interested to talk to you or not. This is how we spark interest. This is how we get them to want to talk to us. And so this information is vital. It is your argument, your career argument. We can't just slap something together and hope for the best. I mean, you can, by all means, if that's what you want to do. That's not what I'm going to do. And I remind you of that Patrickism, right? That I shared several weeks ago. My husband frequently will say to people, this is funny, don't get mad at me a few months down the road if I make more use of this information than you do. I feel, again, that the nicer way to say that is the way I tend to come across with it is, you do you, boo. However, for me, for my house, for how we move forward, we're going to do it with this career argument information. And so, with that, we're going to pull up the PowerPoint and have an exciting video lecture. I do believe that this is exciting information. It's exciting to me. I hope that you will understand its importance and that this is something that you will not just keep to yourself, but share with the people in your life that are important to you. Maybe don't share it with the people who aren't important to you. uh, because maybe they're going to apply for the same job as you, right? And you might not want them to stick out, except in a bad way. Regardless, let's let that slide, shall we? So let's go ahead. We're going to dive into this information. Oh, so excited. Love this stuff. Like, if I could take one more step in my journey of things that I want to be when I grow up, it would be someone who travels around and teaches job skills. Like, have me in as a motivational speaker to talk about job skills. Yes, I would love that. Absolutely would love that to be a motivational speaker to help people achieve their dreams, to get the jobs that they want. Oh, that excites me deeply. So let's go ahead. We're going to take the time right now. We're going to dive into this and talk about resumes and cover letters. The first thing we need to discuss here, after I get this to move forward, is as the job hunting season begins, get yourself ready. Arm yourself with information. This isn't something we just sit down, slap some information on a piece of paper, turn it in, and hope for the best. I mean, again, you do you, boo. But for those of you who are serious about finding yourself in the career that you desire most, this information is for you. And so the first thing that we do is to arm ourselves with information. We need to look at what each employer specifically wants. Study job ads. Make sure that you understand with clarity exactly what the employer is looking for. So have that information, arm yourself. And we're going to talk in a few minutes here about doing research on each company. That's part of arming yourself with information. So I'm not going to get ahead of myself right now, but I am going to say to you, you need to research each company individually. We're going to discuss how to write a strong resume and cover letter. You need to have that information in your toolbox. How to compile a strong reference list. We will talk about that as well. We're also going to take a look at LinkedIn and why LinkedIn is important and why it is something that you need to start utilizing now, as soon as you possibly can. Those of you who are young, start your LinkedIn now. And I'll lay that out. I'll show you why. And then we're going to talk about how to, interview skills, but that's next week. Oh, great week as well. Is it my favorite? I don't know. I kind of still feel like this week's my favorite of all the favorites, like, because they're all my favorite. But I don't know. It's a toss up. It's all good. If I could just teach it all at one time, then I could say this is my favorite and move on from there. But we also will have some reminder information about our body language and how to use it to our advantage in these processes. So moving forward, repeat after me. We will begin here. Every job is irreplaceable. Every person is replaceable. Now we're talking in the workplace. Every job is irreplaceable. Every person is replaceable. To the administration in our companies, we often look like this. That is a fact. And it's not something, whether you like it or not, that doesn't really matter. Because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter whose name is on the paycheck as long as the job got done. And this is how I come to work. I come to work with this understanding. I was in the elevator one time with the president of TCC. She didn't know who I was. Now, had she found out who I was, right, she would then maybe perhaps recognize me moving forward from time to time, place to place. But all that she needs to know is that her English professors are competent and that we are doing the job that we are paid to do. Otherwise, there's a problem and they need to replace us or they need to hire new teachers. But what Lee Goodson, president of TCC, is concerned with is, are my faculty doing their jobs and going above and beyond? That's what she cares about, the school as a whole. And so we have to keep that in mind when we are proceeding forward in our workplaces. We oftentimes look like that on the right. Now, I'm not going to say that nobody in admin knows who I am because they do, but we encounter different people. We have different experiences as time goes by. But we need to all come to work with this understanding. It's important. It's absolutely important. If you don't like it and you don't think that's fair, I have an article I want to share with you. I found this article probably in 2012. So we're talking, I've been using this in the classroom for at least 13 years. The first time I encountered this article, I went, oh, ouch. And I liked it so much that the trade school where I was teaching, I was like, these dudes in these classes need to hear it from this man because they weren't really taking me all that seriously because I'm just a little girl, right? What do I know? Especially at that time, I was only about 40 or 37 years old. So I found this article and I thought, this is perfect, have to share it. And so that's exactly what I'm going to do. You can see the link to the article is down there in the bottom right-hand corner. But Charlie Balmer of Gollum Technologies writes, when you first walk into my office, I am expecting you to be one of the 99% plus people who I know I won't hire in the first 5 minutes. I'm hoping I will be proven wrong because I really want to hire you and be done hiring or interviewing. Unfortunately, most people looking for jobs don't deserve them. Here are the most common ways I know you don't deserve any job I have to offer. You talk about direct. I love this. So I've put in bold some of the words here that I want to jump off the page at you. So he's expecting you to be one of the 99% plus people he knows he won't hire in the first 5 minutes. Like, this dude is skeptical. He has person after person after person sit down in front of him to interview, and he's gotten a little jaded in this process. He says, I hope to be proven wrong because I want to be done with this. I don't want to keep doing this. I want to find people who are good for my company and let's just keep moving forward. He says, unfortunately, most people don't deserve the jobs. Ouch again, right? So we really need to get this down in our spirits. People that are doing interviewing and hiring, reading resumes, reading cover letters, this isn't what they necessarily signed up for that job for. Like, they're not going around going, yay, I get to interview people all day long. Ah, no, but it's unfortunately a part of their job. And so you can get to a point where, and I've been on interviewing teams before, so I know what this is like. You sit down with candidate after candidate, and I'm about to share with you the reasons why Charlie gets frustrated, but I can say to you that I understand these reasons that are about to come forward. So let's go ahead and take a look at them. Number one, he says, if you send me a stupidly long resume, and we're going to talk about that today, a stupidly long resume. If it's more than one page, that means you're a poor communicator. Nail it. Show me that you will be succinct and sufficient at work. Now, what that means is this: your resume, your cover letter, your reference sheet, each one of these is an individual document that is 1 page long. So you're turning in a 3 page document, but 1 page each. And if you can't nail it and keep it to 1 page, what that communicates about you is that you aren't necessarily efficient. Now, that's Charlie speaking here. He says if it's more than 1 page, you are a poor communicator. No, ouch. Ha, get help. Get help when you're putting your resume together. He says if you can't tell me why you like your current job. So there's a couple of different things here in the article that he goes into talking about here. But when you sit down and you are asked about why you're leaving your present position or the workplaces that you've been in before, never, ever be willing to say something negative. Never. Do not say negative things because what that tells a prospective employer is that you're willing to be negative about them. So never be negative. Talk about what you learned there. Talk about what you learned in that workplace. That's a wonderful way to turn those kind of question traps into a positive for yourself. Now we're bleeding into next week's materials here, but Charlie talks about this in the article, so I don't want to leave that out. He says, let me know that you're passionate or don't waste my time. Why do you want to work here? Let me know that you're passionate about it. Show them that you're passionate about it by talking about what you learned in that previous place. And he says, don't BS me. Now, you guys need to star this, highlight, underline, bold, print it out, hang it on a wall. Don't BS me. I have a super BS detector. The worst kind of BS is where more than half of all the candidates say the same thing in your cover letter, on your resume, in your interview. More than half, he says, say the same thing, meaning they don't stand out from one another. We just kind of do what everybody else does, getting in line, like in a little assembly line of job skills. Charlie's like, no, that's not what you need to do. So the article goes into talking more about that, and that is the entire point of this coming information that I'm going to share with you is how do we make ourselves unique? How do we make ourselves stand out? If you have no career plan or vision, Charlie says, no, no, thank you. Don't care. He says, tell me how working for me helps you accomplish your long term goals. If you just want a job, why should I care? There'll be someone else. Have a well thought out vision. Oh, that is intense. That is intense. I love this. I think this is amazing. I'm going to read it again. Tell me how working for me helps you accomplish your long term goals. If you just want a job, why should I care? He doesn't care. He wants people who want to work there, who know that working for him will help them accomplish their goals. Be able to express that you have goals, that you have things you want to accomplish, and working in this company will help you get there. Those are the kind of employees that an employer wants. One time I was working a job fair. My first husband and I had a lawn care and landscape and tree service, and we had a booth at a career fair, and it was for the school where I taught. And so all of our students who were in school had an opportunity to come and talk with employers, get jobs for while they were in school, get jobs for when they graduate. It was a wonderful opportunity. I loved being involved in those um, situations. I liked the job fairs. I miss doing that. However, so we were there one day and we had a booth because we needed a couple of guys. And so these are, my students, people that I know, they're coming up, they're handing over the resumes that I helped them make, but whatever, that's regardless of the story. But so it was open to all of the Vatterott campuses in the St. Louis area. I taught at the North Park campus. We also had a South County campus, a St. Charles campus. We had a campus downtown. So students from and across the river. So actually there were five campuses. One of those was the music school, E Institute by Nellie. So anyway, that's so the students all showed up and they're walking around. We're standing there, and this guy walks up to us. He was a student from another campus, but he walks up to my ex-husband, sticks his hand out, and says, "Hi, I'm Tommy Smith. I want you to work me hard so I don't have to go to the gym and work out every day. I'm Navy and I need to stay fit." What? Absolutely, he was hired. He was hired. He ended up being one of the very best employees that we ever had. Ah, Tommy, what an incredible guy. He ended up running one of the lawn routes. He became a mentor to my son. Mm, what an impressive way to introduce himself to us. But that says, get across who you are. I mean, that he wasn't necessarily giving us a vision for his future, but he was telling us how working for us benefited him. That's someone who's going to work hard. That's someone who's going to be a good employee. So keep that in mind. Charlie knows this too. He says, if you don't have the skills that are advertised, don't, just don't, don't apply. Make sure you can do what we have advertised. Don't waste my time and yours. Don't. Now, side note here, I don't know why the text on these is so small. I went through the PowerPoint before I started this video and it was not that small. So somewhere in translation here from not being on video to being on video, there's been a lapse in font size. No skill. Make sure that you have the skill that we advertise that we need, or don't waste our time. He says, answer my questions with conjecture. Don't tell me what you would do. Don't give me some hypothetical, oh, here's how I would handle the conflict situation. He says, no, tell me what you did do. Give me examples of what you have done, things that are verifiable, actual experiences. And so it may be in an interview, he's going to ask a what would you do situational question, always respond with what I did do. That's a trap. So don't give futuristic answers to questions that you could make up. If he hears those kind of answers, he's going to pass. So that's something for us to keep in mind. Even in our cover letters and resumes, we want verifiable information. He says, show me that you can get things done, that you're intelligent, how I fit into your vision, be highly skilled, and be passionate. That's someone that he wants to talk to. So there's a little bit more here from the article. I wanted to share this part with you because it's all good. We cannot skip this. He says, if I have to spend more than 30 seconds finding out what you've accomplished, forget it. You have annoyed me. Somehow, since resumes went digital, people feel like they can cram in 10 pages of boring essays talking about this achievement or that role and expect me to read every juicy word. More likely, I will ignore the whole thing, write down in my notes, poor communicator, and move on. If you have a good set of skills or something catches my eye, you might still get an interview, but I'll still never read the resume. And you had better be a better communicator on the phone or in person. Think about it this way. The resume items communicate to me your past successes in a supposedly succinct manner. If you can't nail it in one sentence, do I really want to look forward to your rambling emails every day? If I can't read your resume, it doesn't bode well for your emails, and I get enough of those in my inbox as it is. To craft a great resume, tailor it to my job posting. If I have a skill set in there like Windows administration, make sure you have at least one bullet point talking about success in a project where you use that skill. Make the bullet no longer than 3 sentences, which is even too long. He says one is better. I'm likely to read one sentence. I might read three, more than that, and I won't even know what you wrote there. You wasted my time and your own. Oh, I like this guy. I like people when they're bold and direct. I mean, we just don't even have to question what this guy's all about, right? Like he just says it. He is tired of people trying to lie and present themselves as something they're not. He just wants people who are going to be good in his workplace. So as we begin to talk about cover letters and resumes, please remember Charlie Balmer's words. He wants to be done hiring. He wants you to stand out from the other applicants so he can be done looking for an employee to hire. But he is a skeptic. I'm expecting you to be one of the 99% plus people who I know I won't hire in the first 5 minutes. Eek. Mm. So that's where we're beginning with this information today. We have to begin in that space. I need you to feel the urgency. I need you to understand there might need to be just a bit of good panic involved here for you. You want to be on top of this. Absolutely on top of this. So we're going to talk about how we do that. First thing is the magic ingredient to getting the job that you actually want is this. Have some guts. Have some guts about the process. Yes, it's going to take some work. Absolutely, it's going to take some work, and you need to be willing to put that work in if you're serious about getting where you want to be. Keep in mind that you need to be prepared for rejection because it's going to happen. It happens to every one of us. Not every job is right for you, and it's okay if you get rejected. In fact, and we're going to talk about this next week, sometimes when there's rejection, ask questions about it. Find out why. Ask what you can do to improve. I mean, if you want to, if you have guts about the process. Keep in mind that your swagger counts. That line doesn't hit the same as it used to when I was teaching in North City, St. Louis at the Vatterott North Park campus, and I would say swagger counts. The students would all be like, oh, she said that. So I leave it in because if for no other reason, it makes me smile to have that memory. But your swagger, the way that you carry yourself, we talked about that last week. Your body language, your nonverbals, your tone, your pitch, your pace, all of those things say who you are. So swagger counts. Keep that in mind. Now, we're going to talk a little bit here briefly about telephone and message etiquette because when you start sending these cover letters and resumes out, you're going to be getting phone calls. So, what do we need to know in that regard? Always have your voicemail set up as you are entering into the job hunting season. Have a voicemail set up that has your name in it, not music, not some sarcastic remark, not a joke, just hi. You've reached Daisha Cunningham. I cannot answer your call right now, but I will return it as soon as I possibly can. Something along those lines that sounds professional and lets the employer know that they actually did reach you, that this is the correct number, they typed it in right. So let them know that. Ensure that your voicemail is appropriate and your email. Oh, your email. You need to have a professional email address on your resume. It needs to contain your name and not a whole lot else. I've got a couple of little horror stories here. When I was working on my master's degree, I met a lady. Her name is Suzanne. And Suzanne was changing careers. Suzanne was tired of being a bank manager. She didn't want to stay working in a bank. And so she was also working on getting her MFA with a goal to become a teacher. And she has in the last 15 years, since we got out of school, 14, 15 years, she has taught many English classes. But she was telling me one day, and this cracked me up. We were teaching, both of us were teaching at Vatterott there when we got out of school. She actually helped me get my job teaching there. But so she was telling me about one time a resume crossed her desk, and the email address on the resume made her giggle because she's got a really great sense of humor. And she called that individual in for an interview with zero intention of hiring the person. Zero intention. She just wanted to see who out there in the big wide world of people who think they need jobs had the nerve to have an email address that began with Sexy Cow 69 on her resume. We had a really good giggle about that. And I've been telling that story ever since, and I'm sure she has too. Your email address is even an argument about who you are. You need to think about that. Have a professional email address set up. Another time I was helping a young man put his resume together, and he got upset at me because I wanted to change his email address. He didn't think it needed to be changed because that was his email address. And I had to explain to him, you can have more than one email address. I'm not saying that you have to get rid of this email address. I'm saying you need one that's professional that you're going to use for professional situations. And only, I mean, you can keep that email address and only use it on your resume and for job hunting reasons. Oh, he wanted to keep Pimp Daddy 75 as his email address. I mean, you do you, boo. But you're probably going to be sitting around wondering why only very particular types of jobs are calling you in. Moving on. Remember that you may be asked to do a telephone interview. Very possible that someone's going to look at your resume and give you a call and say, hey, do you have a few minutes right now to talk? And you need to be able to say, actually, yes, I do. What kind of questions do you have? It's nice to meet you. Something professional. If you are in a situation where there's a lot of noise, be able to get to a quiet spot. Before a phone call, anytime you're in a job hunting season, you want to make sure you've got paper and pen just like laying around everywhere. Something you can get to quickly where you can take notes. And remove yourself from as many distractions as possible. Quickly get away from noise. Always start by introducing yourself. Use first and last name, both. Very important that we don't just say, "Hey, this is Daisha. I'm Daisha Cunningham. It's nice to talk to you." Right? We want to use the whole name. So, moving on to talking about applications quickly. Some information you need to know about filling out an application. And I've heard students for years say to me, "Well, why do I need to have a resume if they have me fill out an application?" Because you need both. That's why, because they are documents that an employer can check against each other. We tend to fib on one or the other from time to time. You should not, but people do. And so, how you fill out your application needs to match your resume. When you fill out an application, have your resume with you. What you answer on the application needs to come directly from the resume. If you can't have a paper copy with you, have it on your phone, be able to pull it up so that you can match it line for line, put the same information onto the application that is on your resume. I have seen this happen where an employer will take the resume, compare it to the application, and trash both of them because they don't match. So we have to make sure that our information matches. So a resume is not a substitute for an application. They are a means for employers to weed out candidates. Know that. And it stays in your employee file long after you leave the company. This information is kept. Those employee files stick around and around and around. We want to make sure that we're filling them out professionally. Guidelines for applications: always take two pens. Make sure they're the same color because chances are very strong that one pen might die. Make sure they're both black or both blue, preferably black. Follow the directions carefully. It's always a good idea to read the entire thing before you start filling it out. Read it, be familiar with it, then begin to fill it out. That's a test taking rule. Read the whole thing before you start taking it. Same thing with an application. So have your resume with you. Any questions that do not apply to you, put in A, not applicable. Okay, so just put in A if it doesn't apply to you. When it comes to hourly or salary rates, be realistic. Personally, I like to put negotiable. I will write the word negotiable because that's something that I'll be willing to talk about with you in person if it comes up. And we'll talk more about that next week. But be realistic if you are going to put down the salary that you would like to receive, the hourly or the salary amount that you would like to receive. Be realistic. Know what that company pays. Don't go over and don't shoot yourself in the foot either. That's why I like the word negotiable. Why did you leave your current or your most recent job? That is a situation where you need to be honest. But within that honesty, don't be like, "I hated it there." No, talk about what you learned there and that you're ready to move on to new opportunities, that you're looking to grow. And in that particular environment, chances for growth were not as strong as they are at XYZ company where I'm applying. But talk about what you learned in that previous environment. Don't be willing to say anything negative there. Don't fill that out on the application. Be honest, but future thinking. If you have criminal background, make sure that you read the question carefully and only supply what they ask for. Keep in mind that information is easy for them to look up. Background checks, OCDR, OSCN, easy to find out about your background. So don't lie regarding your criminal background, but don't give more information than is actually requested. I have a friend. I will tell this little brief story and then continue on. But I have a friend, and his name is Keith. I'm not going to say last names because that's not important, but his name is Keith. And Keith did some time on, let's call it vacation, although it wasn't a very pleasant vacation. So when Keith came back from vacation, he was applying for jobs and he didn't want to fill out anything about his criminal background, right? Why would you do that? And so he was kind of fluffing it and finding himself in jobs that weren't really what he wanted. One day he was advised to just be honest. And so on the next application that he filled out, he very succinctly wrote his criminal background, the length of his vacation, and what he learned from it. Do you know they hired him? They hired him. He still works there. He's never been happier in a job. Absolutely loves what he's doing now. And it's one of those who would have thought kind of situations, but that's what honesty can do for you. So be thinking about that, but don't give them more than they've asked for. When it comes to race, age, sex, and marital status, those are always questions on an application. It's up to you how you answer them, but none of those should have anything to do with whether or not you get a job. It just shouldn't. Keep in mind that those same things are illegal for them to talk about in a job interview. So keep that in mind. They can put it on the application, but it is illegal to discuss any of those in an actual job interview. Read, right? And then be neat and take your time and sign on the line. Every place that you need to sign, make sure that you do. Attention to detail is very important when it comes to filling out applications. So, with that, we finally are getting to where we need to be. Yes, sorry, not sorry that we took all of that time to get where we are. But we're going to jump into this by saying your resume sucks. Maybe, probably. But we're going to go forward with some information here. First of all, let's talk about LinkedIn because LinkedIn is a house for your entire resume, your whole thing. Now, I've got a few pages here about LinkedIn, so we're going to take a look at this. There is a link at the top to my LinkedIn page, which you're welcome to go and check out. You're welcome to peruse it, look at all the things that I've added there. You'll see that I have my blog attached to it. And so the things that I write on my blog show up on my LinkedIn page. I do keep it updated. It is a place where my entire resume is housed, but it also is a place where I have collected some recommendation letters. My favorite one, my number one favorite boss of all time. Sorry to everyone else. I've had many multiple, how do I say that? Let's say that correctly. Multiples of bosses. That sounds terrible, but I've had quite a few bosses through the years that have all been fantastic. However, working for Bobby Donnell, if given the opportunity, is something I would do again and again and again. He is a kind leader. He is someone who knows how to get the best out of all of his employees. And he was our campus director at Vatterott College for several years. And he let me be me and encouraged me and pushed me. And I grew a lot under his leadership as a teacher and as an employee. And I'm super excited anytime that I can use him as a recommendation, which he's always happy to do. But then I'm also happy to be a recommendation for him, which I'm doing right now, right? If it's just like the best boss in the world, because he knows how to build you up and he knows how to have you know that you are believed in. And he can challenge you. He can also correct you with kindness. And I've had that happen as well. So I love having that note from him there. It's almost 10 years old. Check that out. He wrote that on August the 19th of 2016. Wow, it's been a couple of years. So anyway, LinkedIn. It's a fantastic site. Absolutely. Let's take a look at a little bit more. So again, it houses all of your resume information. Check this one out. This goes all the way back to when I worked at the Seth C. Wilson Library while I was in school at Ozark Christian College. I worked in the library the entire time I was in school. So I started that job in August of 1990, and I ended that job in December of 1994. Oh, awesome. Right off the bat, 4.5 years in one job. Boom. You talk about win. That's a win. Find something that you can do while you're in school and let it be a boost to the length of a time that you can stick to a job. We have to begin to think about that on our resumes. Do you know you want to always shoot for 2 years minimum in a position before moving on? That's what your resume needs to show, is that you have longevity, that you are dependable, that you're willing to stick it out. So you can see that the two right on top of that kind of fly in the face of what I just said. But I went from working at the Seth C. Wilson Library to being a customer service rep at a publishing company. I did that until I got engaged and moved out of town. At that point, I took on a position as a substitute teacher at a daycare. I was also hostessing at a restaurant until a position as a middle school teacher came open at a private school there in St. Louis. And so, if we were actually on my page, we could scroll and see all of that. And I worked there for 2 years until I had two babies and needed to become a stay at home mother. And so, about 12 to 13 years of my resume is childcare. I did a home daycare from home. All of that is here. Everything I've done is here on LinkedIn. All the years, 35 years of my work history. The only thing that's missing is the job that I had in high school. And I've thought about adding that on there, but my boss is no longer living. Um, I don't know. It's not something that I've added on there. I couldn't get a recommendation from him for that if I did add it on there, but I worked at Hill, Glen, and Kern accounting office when I was in high school. So I would, finish out my day at school and then go there and work in the office. This is before the days of, actual computers. We had like Commodore 64s in the office that I was inputting data into. It was crazy now that I think about it. But it was fun. I liked it. So anyway, LinkedIn. You can see across the top there on the screen, there's the homepage where you can see all the people that you're connected to. You can follow different business leaders. You can be reading business articles on a regular basis. You can participate in questionnaires where other people will get to benefit from your insights. There's also LinkedIn Learning. When we talk about continuous learning, LinkedIn has a site here within their umbrella that is a continuous learning site. And then you can see that there's a job section. So a lot of times employers will look for employees here through LinkedIn. And then your network, of course, the people that you're connected to. There's a messaging feature. So anybody that you have business contact with here on LinkedIn, you can also use that messaging system to talk back and forth. There's notifications, etc. So LinkedIn lets you know when people look at your profile. And if you don't use the pay service, it just lets you know people looked at your profile. But if you use the pay service, you can see who every single one of them is. That's kind of fun. I like that part. From time to time, I have paid for the service, just depending on the situation I'm in. Like, am I in a job hunting season? Then I'm going to use the pay service so I can see who's looking at my information. Right now, I'm using the free service because I have no intention of moving on from TCC. I love my job. I'm happy to be where I am. So, again, let LinkedIn show you off. Collect references and recommendation letters. On the right here, you see Terry Cheney. Now it says he is an educational consultant at TAC Academic Consulting. Terry was my professor in probably 1993. He taught what was at that time considered to be one of the hardest courses at Ozark Christian College, and that was on the book of Romans. It was an in-depth, difficult dive into a hard text. And I had, people that I knew who would avoid taking a Terry Cheney class because they knew it was going to be hard. Me, shoot, I want that hard professor because I like the challenge. And so I dove into taking the Terry Cheney class, and I did get an A in that course. And it was a very exciting time for me. But he was willing years later, years after I graduated. Keep in mind, I graduated in 1994 from college, and he still remembered who I was. And in 2012, was happy to write a recommendation letter for me when I reached out when I was building my LinkedIn site. So, very cool. I love that. This Dacia would be an asset to any team. I appreciate those words from him because I did my best in that class. And I'm telling you right now that your college professors can be your best recommendations. Absolutely, we can. And most of us, a lot of us, are good writers. So you want to keep that in mind. Hint, hint, wink, wink. And then down there at the bottom of that one, look at this. This is Mark Sloniker. He was one of my bosses in the 4.5 years that I worked at the Setzi Wilson Library. So now he is the access librarian at Jarvis Christian College, but he was one of my bosses that I worked for directly the whole 4.5 years that I was in college. So, and he, so kind of him in 2012 to write, Daisha was an excellent worker with a great attitude. She worked well with everyone and was an encouragement to be around. Now, that's very kind. He's kind of a man of few words, but I'm appreciative of that because what it does, these gentlemen knew me 30 years ago, and what they have to say shows that my character has not changed, that I still am that person. And so let LinkedIn do this for you. You can start collecting recommendations now and continue to add them as time goes on and let it build because this can become a number one resource for you when you are looking for the job that you truly desire. So keep in mind that your paper resume should only contain 6 to 10 years worth of information. And the information that you include should only be what pertains to the job that you're applying for. LinkedIn has everything. And I'm going to show you what that looks like here in just a few minutes. How can you let them know what your LinkedIn page is? Well, I'm going to show you where to put that on your resume. But so it houses everything, and your resume should not. So employers use LinkedIn as a recruitment tool. And I can tell you this for a fact. Employers do search for candidates that they think will align with their company's values and missions. How do I know this? Well, my son was working for Centene Corp in St. Louis. This is my son, Keenan. He'll be 29 this year. That's so wild to me. But this was a few years ago. Keenan, uh, self-taught. He is self-taught in coding. Self-taught. Picked it up when he was 21, 22 years old and just learned and just soaked in all of the information about software development and coding that he possibly could. Just an incredible guy. I'm very proud of my son. So he was working at Centene Corp. He was bored, and he had changed his LinkedIn profile picture to, and you can do this, anybody can do this. On LinkedIn, you can have it then mark your photo as open to work. And you also mark your profile open to work. And so it will show, it will pull up when employers are looking for particular types of candidates, they will receive your information. And so he was open to work, open to something new, open to an adventure. And one day he received a message on LinkedIn. And the message came to him from Washington University in St. Louis. You've got like your Ivy League schools, like where you get Princeton, Harvard, Columbia. And then you've got the next tier. And the next tier would be like St. Louis University and Washington University and those type of, they're still very well established, highly thought of universities. And so Wash U, which puts out a lot of doctors into our medical system, Wash U reached out to him and said, "Hey, we're interested in talking to you. Would you come in for an interview?" And he was like, "Okay." He wasn't looking for that, but he went ahead, he went to the interview, and they hired him. And he was able to work in the brain scan division where he kept their software running so that the brain scans would be accessible and available to the doctors who were working with patients, etc. It was a pretty important position. And it was funny because he was trying to stick it out for 2 years because Keenan understands that rule. You put in your 2 years. But he was bored again. He told me, he says, "Mom, I'm bored." And I was like, "How can you be bored? You work at WashU. Like you could go to school for free." He's like, I want to do something else." It's like, okay. So now he's doing something completely different. Now he is a software engineer for MasterCard. I say, go for it, son. Keep growing, keep having adventures. And he utilizes LinkedIn because he understands its power. I love this down here at the bottom. I love this. It's so funny. Let me read this to you. I was reading his little bio here, and I was like, "This is funny. This is my son." I made this kid. But it says, making a better experience by providing solutions to daily issues that are clean, informative, and easily maintained. I'm a back-end developer who has worked professionally in the field since 2020. During this time, I've exercised my experience with technologies to implement solutions that satisfy my clients, supervisors, and users. Every day is spent learning, broadening the scope of what I can do with the tools I already know, and keeping a finger on the bleeding edge of what's new. Oh, keeping a finger on the bleeding edge. Definitely my kid. Boom. So proud of him. Absolutely so proud of him. LinkedIn, it's a wonderful resource. Highly recommend. So start building your LinkedIn now. Now, this moves us forward to talking about the paper products that we create. And it may never be that you actually print physical copies of these, they may just be digital, but we're still going to refer to them as the paper documents, the resume packet, your cover letter, your resume, and your reference sheet. We're going to begin talking about those now. So, where do we begin? Well, we begin with our letterhead. Your letterhead is very important, and each page of this packet, your resume, your cover letter, your reference sheet, should all match. They need to have the same letterhead. So, how you put your letterhead together is going to depend upon how much information that you're going to have on that one page resume. If your one page resume is kind of short and you don't have a whole lot of job experience yet, then we're probably going to do the top one. We're going to stack your information. Okay. We want to take up some space. Now, as you grow, this might squish and squish. Mine is now a 2-line letterhead. I can't do more than that. I can't stack it out anymore because I have so much 35 years of work history that I pick and choose from to make sure that my resume is what I need it to be. So, depending on how much information you've got that's going to go on that resume, is what we're going to create your letterhead to look like. And as over time, like I said, over time, this will change. So you can see here on each one of them, regardless of how they're put together, I do include my LinkedIn ID. You can even do a link there. You could highlight it, do an actual physical link to the internet site, to your actual LinkedIn page. A lot of employers would be appreciative to have that link there on your letterhead. So, highly recommend. You can also link to your email so that they can just click there and message you as well. One thing you might notice is missing on the letterheads here is your physical street address. Personally, from my own research, my own experience, I'm going to say to you, where you live is not their business. Now, it's up to you. Again, you do you, boo, if you want to put your physical street address on there or not. However, I want you to think about this. Discrimination exists. It does. And there's not much we can truly do about that. I mean, you can picket, you can protest, you can throw a fit, whatever. Do that if you so need to. Me, I just prefer to leave it off. It is no one's business where I live. It's no one's business if I own my house or I rent my house. If I'm in an apartment, if I'm in a trailer park, it is no one's business. That has no bearing on whether or not I can do the job. And so I don't put it on the letterhead. And when I help students with their resumes, I don't put it on the letterhead. When I help people out in the world with their resumes, I don't put it on the letterhead. I helped a friend of mine's brother who had been a prison guard, most of his entire career, probably 30 years. I helped him do his resume about 4 years ago. And we, did all of these different things that I'm about to share with you. I don't know why this story jumped into my head now, but I'm going to go ahead and tell it. I did his resume for him, and he turned it in and was immediately called for an interview. And he was told that that was the most succinct, easiest to read professional resume that they had seen. So I was like, yeah. But we didn't put his address on there. It's not anybody's business where you live, how you live. Has no bearing on whether or not you can do the job. So just keep that in mind. Phone number, the best phone number for you. Your email address, a professional looking email address. Your city and your state. For most of us here in Tulsa, just put Tulsa, Oklahoma. Now, if you live in Owasso and you want to put Owasso, that's perfectly fine. If you live in Broken Arrow, you want to put Broken Arrow, that's perfectly fine. If you live in Sapulpa and you want to put Sapulpa, that's perfectly fine. However, to just put Tulsa, Oklahoma doesn't limit you in any way because it's our entire area, all falls under the umbrella of Tulsa. Does that make sense? I hope so. So it's probably best to err on the side of just putting Tulsa. Like if we were in St. Louis, I mean, you would have the option of putting Florissant, you would have the option of Maryland Heights, you would have the option of Jennings, South City, Imperial, all of these different places. St. Louis is a huge area that comprises many smaller towns, Kirkwood, but that discrimination element can come in again. And so we want to be careful with that. So you might be applying for a company that if they see that you're from Jennings, Missouri, they might be like, oh, as opposed to if it says Kirkwood. Oh, this person's from Kirkwood, right? So, how would that apply here in Tulsa? Well, that would be like the difference between saying, oh, they're from Sapulpa, or oh, they're from Owasso, right? I'm a West Sider. And so that has the potential to be like, oh, that's near Red Fork. What's wrong with Red Fork? Nothing is wrong with the area in which I live. I like it. I'm a West Sider through and through now. But on your resume, it's best to just put the overarching here's where I lived. I live in the Tulsa, Oklahoma area. So just Tulsa, Oklahoma, St. Louis, Missouri, Dallas, Texas. They don't need more than that. And then your LinkedIn ID. Excellent information. Now, down in the bottom one, which is more along the lines of what my actual letterhead looks like now, I also included my my personality type, which is very much my personality type to do. Now that's up to you. We did that 16 personalities test, right? And you can put your 4 letters on your letterhead if you want to. Kind of depends on the company that you're applying for. For me, that was an application for TCC for the permanent full-time faculty position. So I put it on there because for me, I want them to know who I am. I want them to know what my personality type is. What do I bring to the classroom? My personality type is well suited to be a professor at a college. So, and a writer, politician perhaps. So I felt it was important for that circumstance. I also, on that bottom one, you can see I went ahead and I put my middle name. Now, depending on the formality level of the job that you're applying for, perhaps you just want to use an L, or perhaps you want to put Lene. For me, it was kind of artistic to go ahead and add Daisha Lene on that particular resume. Now, if this were an extremely formal environment and I didn't know anyone and I was stepping into it blind, Daisha L would be the header. And then the initials of the degree that I hold. My degree is an MFA. It is a terminal degree, which means that you cannot go higher in that field. Like that is a terminal degree, meaning it is equivalent in some circles to a doctoral degree. So it's important for me to use those letters from time to time, depending on the situation. And so we make these decisions based on who we're trying to work for. So something to know. Now, your name on your letterhead, you want to choose a font for your name that suits your personality. The rest of your resume and cover letter and your reference sheet should be Times New Roman 12-point font. Every computer can read Times New Roman. Every computer has that font. We want to stick with Times New Roman 12-point font, maybe 11-point font for the rest of your document. However, your name can have personality to it. Just like you see here, I use Blackadder as the font for my name because it kind of looks like handwriting to me. It's kind of suits my personality type, and so that's what I use. Your name is also a larger font than the rest of the document. Use your name in a professional manner. My resume says Daisha Lene Cunningham. It could say Daisha L. Cunningham also. I got ahead of myself. Either is good. It depends upon the level of formality needed per employer. A gender consideration. Sometimes we have gender neutral names or we need the employer to understand who we are. So you might want to use Mr., Ms., Mrs., Miss if necessary. So that's something to think about. Pronouns with your name, that's up to you. Know your audience. Know your audience. Is this something they will value, or is this going to be a turnoff to them regarding you? You need to understand that, do some research, ask some questions. If, as you go forward and you're collecting degrees, some of you are going to stay on an educational path throughout your life and you collect some degrees. Maybe you want to use those abbreviations, maybe you won't. That's going to be up to you per employer that you are applying for. Again, like sometimes I use MFA, sometimes I don't. So let's talk about cover letters. Oftentimes they are necessary. I have written here, sometimes they're necessary, oftentimes these are necessary. So let's take a look at what do we need to know regarding a cover letter. This is the very first impression that you make on a potential employer. And remember Charlie Balmer's words, nail it. Not to scare you. I know at this point some of you are like, crap, I don't want to write that. That's scary. Well, I hope after the information I'm going to share with you now, this will no longer be a scary thing. This will be something you feel very confident in your ability to do. Remember that your cover letter is your opportunity to sell yourself to the organization that you're trying to join. And so you've really got to step it up here. And again, I'm going to give you the how to do it. So this should not be a scary prospect. Your cover letter is one page, never more than one. One page, nail it. Write it in a narrative voice, meaning this will be first person. Absolutely will be first person, but within that, just like we've talked about in other class sessions, we do not want to begin every paragraph with the word I, because that becomes a very self-centered document, and that's not what we want to do. We want to show that it's about the company, not just about you and what you bring to the table, even though it is about what you bring to the table, but it's their table, and we need to keep that in mind. Be bold and direct and brief. Say what you want and why. Assume that your reader will be scanning for just the information they need, so make it easy for them to find. And I highlighted the word scan or scanning because that's something we're going to have to understand and we're going to talk about more than once in this video lecture. Your employer, you need to know this, the future employer is scanning your cover letter. They are scanning your resume. They are scanning your reference sheet. And maybe they're doing it physically with their own eyes, or maybe they're running it through a computer system. Either way, it's being scanned. And we need to know that. How can we still create a document that's going to be beneficial to us when it's only getting scanned? We'll talk about that. Focus more on how you can help the company or organization than on why working there would be good for you. Be careful not to start too many sentences with I. So again, I get ahead of myself, right? So focus more on how the company or organization, on how you can help them rather than on just what you get out of it. State your interest and qualifications in a way that makes the reader want to speak with you or hire you. And again, don't be starting to go, oh crap, this sounds like so much. I'm going to show you how to do it. If it is a physical copy, you make sure that you use the same paper that you're going to print your resume on. So if you're using resume paper, this goes on resume paper as well. Have them match in format. So again, they're going to have the same letterhead and they'll be on the same paper, same font. However, highlight experiences and skills that prepare you for the job that you seek that are not on your resume. So if it's on your resume, it does not go on your cover letter. And if it's on your cover letter, it does not go on your resume. These need to complement one another. They go together as one packet. We will use action verbs frequently. No passive hope. Do not, at the bottom of your cover letter, say, I hope to hear from you. I'm going to be like Charlie Balmer there. Hope is timid. I hope I hear from you is much different than I look forward to hearing from you. We want to be direct. I look forward to hearing from you, not I hope to hear from you. Ew. I don't want timid employees. I want direct employees who say what they mean and mean what they say. No personal information in a cover letter. It is not their business where you live, what you eat, where you go to church, anything about your political affiliation, whether you have children or not, are you married? Not their business. Has no bearing on whether or not you can do that job. So don't put it on there. You better believe when I applied for the job at Vatterott College, I told no one there that I had 6 children. No one. Nope. But what kind of an impression might it put on a prospective employer if in my cover letter I talk about my 6 children? Well, an immediate assumption on their part could be, and probably would be, she's going to miss work often. Don't make that mistake. If this is somewhere that you really want to work, you keep your professional information to yourself, or your personal. Personal information is yours. Don't put it on there. One time I had a student, I'm going to go back here. One time I had a student, we were doing cover letters in the classroom. And if this happens with you, I will correct it. I will point it out. But this one student years ago at Vatterott, we were writing cover letters. And he put there that he was his son's Boy Scout troop leader, or he was his son's Boy Scout troop leader. And I said, no, 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 no. We're going to say volunteer with the Boy Scouts of America. Completely different situation. Don't mention your son. So at first he didn't really like that, but he came around to my way of thinking. Use the jobs ad description to find keywords that should be included in your letter, such as detail oriented. Here's the key. This is the key. Show that you know about the company, that you understand what they're looking for by using keywords. And we do that by doing research. We read the job ad thoroughly and we research the company online. We do those things. We look for keywords. We incorporate the keywords into our documents. We're going to take some time here and we're going to focus on this idea. Research, research, research. You need to know about the company that you want to work for. This is also one of those areas I will say, I mean, you can do what I'm suggesting here, or you can ignore this. People that ignore this, you're going to send out 50 generic resumes, and then you're going to sit around and wonder why nobody but Taco Bell is calling you. If you take the time to research companies, to read about them, to be thorough in your understanding of the job ad and what they're looking for, but then also read their websites, glean information, read reviews, read the Better Business Bureau sites reviews, read Google reviews, read about this company, get to know things about them, and then use key words to benefit you. That's how you get noticed. So let's take a look here. I've got an example for you. I found this in 2011. It's January 2011 when I discovered this job ad on Craigslist. I don't even know if people use Craigslist anymore. 14 years ago, Craigslist was a place for guys in the construction field, not just guys, but you know what I'm saying, for individuals looking for jobs in HVAC, welding, plumbing, etc. Craigslist was a great spot in those days for them to find jobs they would be interested in. So I came across this ad, and it says, HVAC service installer, South St. Louis County. We've got January the 20th, 2011. This was written, posted at 6:29 a.m. Dude's an early riser, something to keep in mind. Put that in your hat. Hold on to that. And reply to dharster@att.net. Well, right off the bat, we have a little bit of information about this company. I think it's safe to assume this is not a large company, because if it were a large company, it wouldn't be at att.net. That's like a business having a Gmail, right? So immediately we can go, that's interesting. Hold on to that. Now we read the ad and we want to read it thoroughly, which means read it more than once.
60-year-old heating and air conditioning contractor seeks to hire two more service installer personnel for residential and light commercial work. 5 years field experience in St. Louis City and St. Louis County are required. Also required are a neat appearance, good driving record, and a very positive attitude. We offer competitive salary, commissions, 80% paid health insurance for employee and family, paid holidays, paid vacation, uniforms, company van for service persons, and overtime over 40 hours. We try to work everyone a minimum of 40 hours per week the entire year with little time lost, if any, during the winter months. We have not had to lay off anyone since 1988. Please contact Harster Heating and Air Conditioning by sending your resume to 9900 Gravois Road, St. Louis, Missouri 63123, or fax to or email to dharster@att.net. So this is the ad. Most of my students at the time, a lot of them were HVAC, and so they were like, "Ooh, I'm going to apply there," right? And I'd be like, hold on. We're using this for class." But there's a lot of great information here. I mean, great information here. And so let's talk about it. Let's take a look at what we can discover if we take some time to dissect it. Dig in. What's the employer saying? What can we use here to our benefit? So, right off the bat, 60-year-old heating and air conditioning contractor. Is the company 60? Or is the person writing the email 60? I don't know. It's not clear. So immediately that caught my attention. Plus, 60-year-old needs to have some hyphens in the middle of it. So right off the bat, English teacher me is going, eek. Next thing here to note is that they're hiring two service installer personnel for residential and light commercial work. Two. They're looking for two employees. Well, that's interesting. I wonder why two. Well, hold on to that as well. Hold on to that information. Now, this is residential and light commercial. If you don't have light commercial experience, that might be something that could keep you from getting this job. Something to know. They need people for both. And you want to make sure that you have had both of the things that they mention in their ad. Then he goes on to say 5 years field experience in St. Louis City and St. Louis County license are required. Boom. Those things are required. If you do not have them, don't apply. Look for what the company requires. And you want to use these. So highlight these in yellow, circle them, make a note. You need to use the information that they say is required. Moving on. Also required. Again, take notes, highlight, underline, make a list. Neat appearance, good driving record, and a very positive attitude. These are required. This is language you want to incorporate into your cover letter and or your resume. Make notes. And then he goes on to list all of the benefits. Competitive salary, commissions. So it's salary, it's not hourly. You keep that in mind. Commissions, 80% paid health insurance for employees and family, paid holidays, paid vacation, uniforms, company van for service persons, and overtime over 40 hours. So in this sentence, although it's wonderful, it lists all these amazing benefits, there are two more grammar issues. And not everyone's going to catch these. I get that. But for me, it's like nails on chalkboard. So we should have a comma. We need the Oxford comma here after service persons before and. And then who wants to work overtime? Or would you rather work overtime? Right? We want to work overtime. So far, I have 4 English teacher questions in this ad. 4 things that tell me at this point, this was not edited. And something that I need to know as a potential future employee in this company is they're not taking the time to edit. Are they also going to skip over things in the workplace? See how that translates? That absolutely translates. It's something I need to keep in mind, something I need to recognize. Now, the next sentence, I love this next sentence. We try to work everyone a minimum of 40 hours per week the entire year with little time lost, if any, during the winter months. What's the most important word in that sentence? Drum roll. The most important word in that sentence is try. Is this a guaranteed 40-hour a week job? No, it is not. And if you are aware of the type of job that HVAC is, you'll understand this. You need to understand it's not a guaranteed 40 hours a week each year or each week of the year. It's just not. He says, especially in the winter months. Something to keep in mind, something to understand. Now, he did say salary above there, right? He did say salary, so it's not necessarily hourly, but we need to understand that the hours are not necessarily guaranteed. Next thing here, we've not had to lay off anyone since 1988. Is that a positive sentence or a negative sentence? Well, I don't know. They are hiring 2 people. They're not laying people off. What if people quit? What if they have high turnover and that's why they need 2? I can't know from the ad, can I? Maybe we need some more information about this company. So he goes on to give you 3 different ways to contact him or to send your resume. Send it by email. Because if you send yours by snail mail, by the USPS, mine's going to get there before yours. And don't send it by fax because you know what? A lot of these companies have fax machines that are 30 plus years old, and your information is going to come over like this, right? It's not going to be easy to read. There might be things that are obscured, and it might get cut off in half. So a fax machine is not reliable. Highly do not recommend. Send it the fastest means possible, which is email. If that is an opportunity afforded to you, use it, right? Email or upload to a website if they also give you that option. Now, this is a wonderful ad. Fantastic ad for digging in, finding out information, but we need to know more. And down here in the bottom, I have a link to the Harster Heating and Air Conditioning website. Now, one thing I will point out with the email address of dharster@att.net, that doesn't tell us if there's an email address or not, or a website, right? That's what I want to say. A website. We can't know if there's a website from that email address. Chances are strong they probably don't have a website because most companies that have a website have that website's name as part of their email address, right? So I'm a little skeptical here. But what I did was I did a Google search and I found harsterheating.com. So I've got a couple of screenshots here from their website, and it has changed over the years, let me just say. It has changed. It has been updated. The company is growing. So when you go to their website, you learn a lot of interesting things. Read everything and take notes. You want to look for the most important information. And the most important thing you can look for is the company's value statement. Find the value statement. Here at TCC, we say community is our middle name. I knew that to be the case because I was already an adjunct here. So you better believe my cover letter said something about community being our middle name. It sure did, because that's a value of the company that I work for. And so I wanted to get that across to them that I am like-minded, that I understand that we value community here at Tulsa Community College. We value what our students bring to the community and how the community can be here for our students. And so I included that in my cover letter. Very important that you dig in for the information. Look for what you need. Here on the Harster site, we've got straight up in this paragraph, he says, I've been the owner, manager, chief cook, and bottle washer of Harster since 1986. Now, here's where you highlight. My philosophy has always been the customer is always right, and to do good work and to charge a fair price. Funny how some companies just don't get that. Our customers are loyal because we follow that code. I insist on industry certification and honest ethical practices. It's a pretty simple recipe, actually, and one that's a tradition I hope continues for many years. Thanks for visiting. You want to find some language that you need to use in your cover letter and your resume? Right here. that customers always write. Do good work, charge a fair price. Beautiful. Use their words. Absolutely. Read the whole website. You read this website, you get so much good gold nuggets about Harster Heating and Air Conditioning. You even find out that it's Dave Harster that you're emailing. He's the owner of the company. You find out what his personality type is like because he's talking about how he loves John Goodman, the actor. John Goodman's from that part of St. Louis. And so there's that bond, that connection there. Lots of cool information here if you just take the time to read the whole website. Read the frequently asked questions part. What we discover there is something that is not in the ad. What we discover here is that Harster's employees are available 24/7. We also discover that, oh, even though he said salary in the ad, look here, it says hourly. Interesting. Great question. They're hourly. Technicians paid on commission are always trying to sell you something. Our guys just do their jobs. Very direct, very direct. But I will tell you too that it is in this section that we discover that they are 24/7 as well. And so you need to understand that even through holidays, you'll be working. Something you need to know there. So, how do we put together a cover letter? Now that we've done a little bit of research on Harster Heating and Air Conditioning, how do we put together a cover letter? We begin this way. The first paragraph is you state what position you're applying for and where you found the ad listed and when the ad was posted. So, very simply, I'm responding to your ad for the position of service installer, which was listed on Indeed.com. It was actually Craigslist on July 20th, 2022. And it was actually what I said, July the 20th or January the 20th, 2011. I don't know why I changed that, but I did. But you want to put the name of the position you're applying for because a lot of companies will have more than one position open. So, what is the exact position that you're applying for? Where did you find the ad and when was it posted? That's your first paragraph. That's simple. No stressing about having a great hook in a cover letter. It's not necessary. Just do what's necessary. Here's the position I'm applying for. Here's where I found the ad. Here's when you posted it. Boom, done. Move on. Your second and third paragraphs, here's where we're going to state our qualifications and how they meet the company's needs. And I'm going to show you how to do that here in just a moment. Your third or fourth paragraph, you're going to state a thank you, and I look forward to hearing from you. Also consider adding a time that you can be reached. So the closing of your cover letter. Thank you for your consideration. Available before 10 o'clock a.m. Monday through Thursday. I look forward to hearing from you. Boom, done. Final paragraph. No need for more of a drop the mic fancy conclusion. It's not necessary. Be direct. So, business letter format. We want to put together this cover letter in business letter format, and this is what it looks like over here on the left-hand side of the page. This is the cover letter that I want to show you how to write. Look at all that white space. So much white space. This is easy to read. And that's what we want to go for. We want to go for a document that is succinct, that nails it, that gives them just enough information to be curious about you, that includes some keywords and has white space so that it's easy. So over here on the right, it says a business letter contains no indentions, no paragraph indentions, none. We will utilize space between every paragraph. And so all semester long for writing essays, I've been telling you we're using classic double space. We're removing that extra space that the default setting puts in there. That default setting is for business writing. So for business writing, we need that setting. And we will be writing single spaced or 1.15 spaced. And we do need that extra space between each paragraph. No indentions. Very important. Big difference between letter writing and academic writing. Big difference. Totally differently formatted. So it is single spaced. We do double space between paragraphs, which if you use the default, it is set up for that every time you hit enter. We will design it carefully. Use a grammar checker. and proofread it. Now, it says remember Anthony Weiner there, but I have taken that part out of the lecture. I am going to just remove that right now, if I can. Oh, nope, it's not going to let me remove it. So I'll have to do that after the lecture. Anthony Weiner used to be a United States congressman. Anthony. Yeah, he lied to Congress. He's no longer Anthony Weiner, the United States congressman. So apparently, when you take pictures of yourself in your bathroom that are inappropriate and try to send them to particular ladies, but you accidentally hit the wrong button and you send it to everyone on your Twitter feed, and then it goes viral, and they're able to prove, even though you said you were hacked and it wasn't you, they're able to prove that it was. Long story. So remember, Anthony Weiner, once you submit a thing, it's gone, it's done, you can't take it back. So we want to take some time with this and put it together correctly. So I'm going to break this down. We're going to look at each section of this cover letter. But you can see over here on the left, I mean, there's white space all over this thing. This is not a complicated document. Not at all. Actually, quite simple. So let's take a look at it. The cover letter. Oh, use this, it says. Let's just read it. It says, Dear Dave Harster. Now, above that, right, you've got your letterhead, and then you put the address that the cover letter is going to. You put today's date, and then Dear Dave Harster, find out who your letter is going to and actually use their name. That's an important component here. If you can, and if you can't find it online, call the company. Say, I'm about to put together a cover letter and a resume to send in. Whose name should I address this to? Call ahead, ask, stand out, be different than everyone else. So get the name. And then we write, I'm writing in response to your ad dated January the 20th, 2011, posted on Craigslist for the position of service installer. Boom. First paragraph. Done. Move on. No stress. Move on. Confident that I would bring value to Harster Heating and Air Conditioning, I'd like to give you a brief overview of my skills and experience. Here's how my qualifications meet your company's goals and needs. Very simple, very direct. You don't need to change this wording much, if even at all. Confident that I would bring value to your company, and use the company's name. I'd like to give you a brief overview of my skills and experience. Here's how my qualifications meet your needs. Boom. Notice I does not begin either one of those sentences. I is in the middle. We do not want to begin all of this letter with I. No, leave that off. So the first thing here is we list their needs. They come first. It is about the company. They come first. Your needs. And so from the Harster information, I put 5 years field experience, St. Louis City County license, positive employees with a customer is always right attitude, and availability for 24/7 service. We have a combination of things here from the ad that are required and from what we discover if we read the entire website. This doesn't need to be complicated. What do they require? What are their needs? Put that down. Then your next section is my qualifications. Well, how do my qualifications meet their needs? Bullet point it. 7 years field experience, St. Louis City County licensed, positive attitude, neat appearance, training and soft skills, working with people, good driving record to take on the road for 24/7 service. All of that directly comes from what we read about Harster Heating and Air Conditioning. It's in the ad or it's on the website. Every bit of it. So 7 years field experience, St. Louis County city license, ad. Positive attitude, neat appearance, the ad. Training and soft skills and working with people, that's something that we read about in the website, where he values and ensures that his employees stay up with continuous learning. So we show him that we value that as well. Good driving record, ad. To take on the road for 24/7 service, website. Very specific information. Boom. Your needs, my qualifications. Thank you for your consideration. Available before 10 o'clock each morning. I look forward to hearing from you. And then we sign it with the word sincerely. Don't say sincerely yours because you don't belong to them. Just sincerely. You don't need to add anything fancy. Don't try to stand out right here. Sincerely is a placeholder. It just does its job on the letter. So just use the word sincerely. And then you want to skip 3 or 4 spaces because that's your signature spot. If you're doing a physical copy, this is where you actually sign your name right above your printed name. So make sure that you leave that space there. And then if you actually type the letter up yourself, you want to put your initials. And so those are my initials because I typed this myself. That lets the person reading the letter know that you also have this skill set. You can type a letter. That's important to a lot of workplaces. And so if you typed the letter yourself, you want to put those initials there. If someone else has typed the letter for you, their initials should go there. So that's just proper etiquette when it comes to business letter writing. And breaking it down again, just a closer look. Oh, I love this section. Love it. Look how clean that is. So easy to read. Different from what everyone else is going to turn in. Completely different. All of the other cover letters that they're going to receive are chunky paragraphs where people are trying to suck up. Let's just be direct. Here's what I know you need. Here's how I fit those needs. Stand out from the crowd. Boom. Isn't that beautiful? You have a copy of this cover letter example on Blackboard. Highly recommend that you use this formula. Now, again, you do you. I know it works. I've been teaching this to students for 14 years, going on 14 years. And I've had many students get interviews and get the jobs that they desire because of this information. And I will continue to teach it because I know it's valuable. So after a couple of years of using this in the classroom and helping so many students with their job skills and helping them to get their jobs, I was super excited. And me being me, I thought, you know what? Dave Harster, because I was feeling like we were friends at this point, even though I'd never met this man. I talked about him all the time in the classroom. I was having students write cover letters to him, even though we never sent them. But, like I felt like this guy was somebody I knew. So I thought, I'm going to send him an email and say thank you and let him know what an impact he was making on the St. Louis community. And he didn't even know it. So I emailed him, and it was a very, very, very long email. I included the cover letter template. I also told him several stories about students that his information was helping and had helped to get jobs. So it's a very long message that I sent to Dave Harster. So, guess what? He wrote back. He wrote me back. And he said this. Oh, that used to be my name. It's not my name now. I am Mrs. Cunningham now. You all know me that way. But he said, thanks for the email and all the feedback on my ad. Yes, you're right. I had no idea I was making such an impact. I like the template you've come up with for the cover letter. Get this, listen to this. Cover letters are usually all the same or very similar, stating, I would like to further my skills with a good company. Everyone writes that. It's on every template. Don't write that. I would like to further my skills with a good company. Just once, though, I would really like to see this statement. I love to work. I was taught to work hard, to be productive, and make a difference where I'm employed. I would interview that person, even if I didn't have a position open for them, and keep their resume for the future. Thanks for all the time you spent emailing me. That is a long email. Dave Harster. I should be embarrassed at that. I'm not. I have no shame. I'm excited. And the reason I'm excited was because he said, here's what I want to see. Now, this is a business leader in the St. Louis community running a company that's been around for 60 years. And I can tell you, because of research over the years on his website, he was hiring 2 people back in 2011 because the company was growing, not because people were quitting. So this is an industry leader, and he says, what I want to see, what I want to read, what is different, what would stand out is this. I was taught to work hard, to be productive, and to make a difference where I'm employed. I wrote him back and I said, Dave, can I quote you? And he said, please do. So I have been sharing this information with students for years now. You want to stand out, you want to be different, you want to say something that's going to catch attention. Here you go, straight from an employer's mouth. I was taught to work hard, to be productive, and to make a difference where I am employed. Ooh, it is an altogether different thing to say, I was taught to work hard, than to say, I'm a hard worker. Because everyone and their dog says, I'm a hard worker. Most people are not. It's a lie. We want to say, I was taught to work hard, to work smart, to work creative, be different, say something different, but even taught to work hard is different than I'm a hard worker. I was taught to work hard, to be productive. And I love this last part. Oh, I love this part. To make a difference where I'm employed. You better believe I used that in my application process at TCC. Heck yeah, I did. Thank you, Dave Harster. You made a difference in my life and a difference in many students' lives over the years. Make a difference where I'm employed. Use that. You have Dave Harster's permission. These are words that will help us to be different, to stand out, except from all the students that I've taught over the years. But chances are very strong that you're not going to be coming up against nearly everyone who's taken this class or had this video lecture. So write these things. I was taught to work hard, to be productive, and to make a difference where I'm employed. He said that is a person he's going to keep their information and hire them at some point. So, what if the company wants you to send your cover letter through email? Or they want your resume through email? Do you still include a cover letter? Well, why don't you make the body of your email your cover letter? I mean, you could still send a copy of your cover letter, but also use the body of your email as your cover letter. So all I did here on this screen was I copy and pasted it into the body of the email. It's a win. In this case, your cover letter becomes the body of your email. Your resume will be the attachment. You can include the physical attachment as well for the cover letter. That's up to you. But if you've got to send it over email, use that space to have your cover letter in. And again, you've already written it, so you don't need to stress about this. Let's talk resumes. All of that information about the cover letter, very important, vitally important. Everything we've talked about so far today, very important. Now let's get to the resume information. So excited about this. Here we go. A resume is 1 page. Does a resume need to be 1 page? The short answer as to whether your resume should be 1 page is still ideally yes. Employers have to look through dozens, if not hundreds, of resumes to fill a position. They want the resumes to be quick and easy to read, so the shorter, the better. Plus, nobody enjoys reading through multiple pages of potentially unnecessary and redundant text. The link for that information is here at the bottom of the screen. This is from adobe.com. Should a resume be 1 page? Great article. Highly recommend that you read it and glean more information for yourself. So we have to keep in mind 1 page, succinct, nail it. Showcase that you stand out from the other candidates. When I applied for the position that I have right now as a full-time faculty member at Tulsa Community College, my title as I'm writing this is assistant professor. I'm hoping within the next couple of years to be moving up in rank to associate professor. You better believe that I'll be using these skills to assist myself in that process. But oh, I totally like lost it there for a second, right? I'm so excited about this. I can't wait. I'm like looking forward to that promotion and rank scenario. So it kind of threw me off here. But one page. You need to understand this needs to be quick and easy to read. I remember what I was going to say. When I applied for this position that I have now, I found out because I know people, because I like to rub elbows with people who can be influential in my life. I found out when I applied for this full-time position, which, by the way, my adjunct boss had said, Daisha, you should apply for this. And I was thinking, okay, me? Me? And she said, yes. And I said, okay. So I did. And I went through all the appropriate mess with the process. I found out there were 75 applicants for this position. 75. That's a lot of people in the Tulsa area that want to teach English at Tulsa Community College. That's a lot of people that I could easily be replaced by. I have to keep that in mind when I come to work on a daily basis. 75 people wanted my job. We have to know that. Your resume needs to stand out. Your cover letter needs to stand out. You need to make yourself different. You need to make yourself the person they are curious to talk to. Very important because there are a lot of other people potentially applying for that position that you want. So, how do you secure an interview? Important to get this information down and to use it moving forward. So, one page. Most jobs require a one-page resume. Now, in my field in education, we use something called a curriculum vitae, and it is longer. But in most job fields, one page. There are many looks, many opinions, and many templates for resumes. If you are going online and you are just typing in make a resume, you are going to find much advice and many templates out there in the big wide world of resume writing. So the question then becomes, do I use a template or do I not use a template? Mm, 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 mm. My argument for not using a template is this. Templates have formatted settings that you will likely not have the skill set to edit, especially when you need to add information to your resume as time passes. So template can be great for a one-off. For a one-off, I want to look good, I want to stand out. But chances are really strong that the next time you need to use that or you need to make some edits, you're going to have a very frustrating time doing so. There are a lot of hidden formatting items inside of templates. My suggestion, do yourself a favor, start from scratch, make your own document, something that you can easily edit as time goes by. That's my suggestion based off of experience and know-how. So never use a template. Take some time, do it yourself. And I put here, I just added this morning. Don't use AI. Don't use AI to write your resume. Write it yourself. Now, maybe to tweak it, to do some this or that tweaks here and there, sure. But we have to be really careful with AI because AI can make us sound just like everyone else because everyone else is using AI. It's a big debate going on right now among the faculty about what are we okay with AI use and what are we not. And for most of us in the English field, we feel very strongly that students should not be using AI because you need to be writing your own words, your own opinions, your own thoughts. Communication skills are vitally important. In a workplace, your communication skill is vitally important. And if you're putting together these documents with AI and you show up to the job and then they want to put you through a test, here, type this out or answer these questions right there and then on a computer, and you go, oh, they're going to be able to catch that you didn't put those other items together yourself because look what you produced here on the spot. Ew. So do it yourself. So you don't want to look just like every other candidate. Really, you don't. You want to stand out. And remember what Charlie Balmer said. Don't BS me. I have a super BS detector. The worst kind of BS is where more than half of all the candidates say the same thing. I'm a hard worker. Let's be different. A word from our sponsor. I came across this video, this young woman, and I have to share this with you. We're talking job hunting season. We're talking, we are cool people. We deserve these jobs. Let's hear what she has to say in her job hunting season. Oh, hold on. Hold on. Wait, we're going to start over. And I'm going to share the sound so that you can hear this. Very important that you're able to hear this. All right, here we go.
Explain to me how I have 2 degrees. I have 2 degrees. Oh, and a certificate. A little extra, right? I have a certificate. May not be a master's, but it's something extra along with the 2 degrees, you know? I'm trying to apply for jobs right now, and the thing is that the only person I have responding to me is a man from a tech company saying, "Hey, you want to answer some customer service problems? You want to answer some customer service calls?" No, Bart, I don't want to answer your calls. No offense, but I'm a little more qualified than to just to be sitting around answering your customer service calls, Bart. Okay, I'm sorry, but Bart is the only one who's responding to me. So what am I supposed to do? And I'm looking down at these and I'm looking at them and I'm kind of wondering. I'm like, what was this for again? Oh, I don't know. Beats me.
All right. The attitude a lot of people in the world of the job hunt season tend to have. Hear people complain from time to time, and I am grateful not to be one of those people. So let's talk about this a little bit. Something that we have to keep in mind here. Something this young lady does not understand. It's not about you. It's about the company. It's never about you and what you want. Yeah, you want to work at that company, and there are reasons why you want to work at that company, but you better believe that that company is more concerned with their bottom line than they are about putting your name on a paycheck. We have to understand that. We go back to the paper sack that I showed you toward the beginning of this talk. Every position is irreplaceable. Every position is necessary in that company. Sometimes they're not and they get cut, but for the most part, the positions that exist in a company are necessary. The person that fills that role is replaceable. And this young lady, and I'm going to just state it, she is extremely self-centered. No wonder she's not getting callbacks, except from Bart. And Bart wants her to answer some phones. And she's like, degrees. I am better than this. Are you? Yeah, you need a job, but you have to know that for each company that you apply for, they make decisions based on what is best for them. And that's their prerogative. They're the business owners. They're the ones in the HR department. They're the ones who get to determine, because of their positions, who works there and who doesn't. So this requires your understanding of soft skills and your emotional intelligence. It has to kick in because they can always hire someone else. So to work for Bart or not work for Bart, I think she should work for Bart, because you have no idea whether or not Bart might hold the keys to your future. You go ahead and you take that job and see where it leads. When I first came to Tulsa, I'd been a college professor in St. Louis. I had worked at several schools. I had worked at Brown Mackie. I'd worked at Rankin. I was at Vatterott for years. I came to St. Louis or to Tulsa, and I needed to stay working. And I didn't have a prospect of working in a college at that time. And it was necessary for me to be here. So I just went and I found a place that I thought I would enjoy working. And I walked in and I asked if they were hiring. It was Drysdale's, which is now Boot Barn. I went into Drysdale's and I said, "Are you hiring?" And they were like, "Yes, as a matter of fact." And so I ended up almost immediately with the hiring manager. And he said to me, I'll never forget, it was so funny. He said to me, keep in mind, I worked in a library, I worked for an accountant, I worked in a daycare, I did home daycare for years. I worked in another preschool. I taught at a private Christian school for a while. Um, then I went back to school in my mid to late 30s. I got my master's degree, and then I started working in a college level environment. So I've been in higher ed since 2010. I've been in higher ed. I have no sales experience. Zero. None. Zero. 20. Double zero. So I'm sitting in the hiring manager's office, Rick, and Rick says to me, "Tell me about your sales experience." And I said, because I'm so freaking clever, I said to him, "Well, I'm an English teacher. I sell ideas." And he said, "You're hired." Oh my gosh, you guys, so funny. I hadn't had any sales experience, but I sure do know how to be a motivational speaker. So I said, "I'm an English teacher. I sell ideas." I found myself working in the boot department at Drysdale's. And you better believe it was a competitive environment because in those days we did get commission in the boot department and we were competitive and it suited me because I'm a competitive girl and I'm going to get that sale before you do. Twice I sold $1,500 pairs of Lucchese boots. Heck yeah, I got the commission on that. You better believe it. I worked for Bart. I took a job that could have by some been considered less than because I was a college professor. But sometimes we need to do that in order to move ourselves along. Sometimes we need to just take that job so that we stay working, we keep our resume full, and we keep moving forward. Do your best where you're planted. Do your best working for Bart because you don't know how Bart's going to be able to help you. Now, while I was working at Drysdale's, I had a customer come in, he and his wife needed a pair of work boots. And so I was helping them find the work boots that might be of most benefit. And we struck up a great conversation. That conversation went so well, they offered me a position as his personal assistant. See, he's an oil and gas attorney in Tulsa, and he traveled a lot for work, and he needed an assistant to go with him. So I went from working at Drysdale's to being the personal assistant of an oil and gas company, lawyer, attorney, high-powered attorney here in town. Who knew? What? You have no idea how working for Bart is going to move your future. Take that job answering phones. Take that job selling boots. And do the best that you can in it because you have no idea where that could lead you, the doors it could open. So I did that job for a while until the position at Vatterott College here in Tulsa opened up where I could do the exact same job that I had been doing in St. Louis. And all I had to do was call the HR department and say, "Hey, guess who lives in Tulsa?" And she said, "Get over there." And I said, "On it." And then once the position at TCC opened up and my supervisor at the time said, "Hey, wink, wink, apply for this," I was on it. You better believe I did. Now, there's more to the story, there's more to the tale. But sometimes you just have to do what you have to do to keep yourself working, keep yourself moving. Always in every role that you have, Do your best. Interact with people, network, because you don't know where that's going to lead. So, to that young lady on the previous slide, take the job for Bart. Swallow your pride. That pride's going to keep you unemployed. Work for Bart. You don't know where it will lead. Keep your eyes open, keep your eyes peeled, keep moving forward. Let your emotional intelligence kick in. So, moving forward with resume talk. So much good stuff here. I remind you again, see, I already said it and I had forgotten that this is in here. Every job is irreplaceable. Every person is replaceable. Ooh, I made it bigger this time. That's you. That's me. We need to keep that in mind. Doesn't matter whose name is on the paycheck as long as the job gets done. So understand this. It's not about you. It's about the company. When we're putting our resume together, we keep that in mind. When we put our cover letter together, we keep this in mind. So do we, on our resume, need an objective statement? This is we start. We've got our header, and the next thing is, do I need an objective statement or a summary? I don't know, do you? To object or not object. An employer does not care about your objective. Keep that in mind. They care about their own. If you use an objective, make it showcase how you fit the company and use the company's name. So you're like, but that's so much work. That means for every resume I put together, I have to make a new one. Yes, you do. Absolutely, you do. If you have an objective statement, put the company's name into it. Showcase them. How do you fit them? We want to get that across there if you keep the objective statement. It's a placeholder. And as you gain work experience and as you gain certifications and as you add the information up that goes on the physical resume, you're going to have less and less space for the objective statement. It's a space taker. So when you don't have a lot of information to put on your resume, yes, we need an objective statement. But you will get to a point one day where you can just leave it off. It doesn't need to be there. There isn't one on mine. I don't have room for it. So a couple of sample objective statements that if you do need this space taker, if this is something that you need, maybe the employer that you're applying for has made it clear that you need an objective statement on your resume. Chances are they already know your objective is to get a job there. So having one isn't necessary unless you need it to take up space. But here are a couple of suggestions. Objective. To bring excellent customer service support or customer support service, prior experience, trainability, and purposed work ethic together with focused communication skills to enhance the company, and you put the actual company's name, the company's growth and success in the community. That works. Use that. If you need it, use this. Here's a second one. To obtain the blank position, put the actual name of the position that you're applying for here on your resume objective statement. Within company's name, where a desire to work hard and make an impact in the workplace. Thank you, Dave Harster. Knowledge of electrical mechanics, work experience, and people skills combined to promote company growth along with furthering personal success. Both of these are great. Use them. Put Dave Harster's words in there if you want to. I'm saying they would be beneficial to you. But these are not necessary. They are placeholder space takers. So if you need it, use it. If you don't, don't. Something I have to point out at this point is keep in mind you need to save your resume, not only as a Word file, but also as a PDF as you go. So be saving it as a Word file. Do this in Word. Save, save, save. Set it up on autosave because you don't want to be working along and all of a sudden you lose it. Of course, there is a way to go into version history where you could pull it back, but not everybody knows how to do that. So save as you go. And when you are finished, save it as a PDF. You want to be sending a PDF file of your resume, not a Word document. Send a screenshot, a picture, a PDF, not a picture, not a real picture, not a JPEG or a PNG. Send a PDF file when you are sending this over email or uploading to a website. Now, tailor your resume and cover letter for each employer. You absolutely do. We are using those keywords. Research the company. What does the ad say? What are they looking for specifically? What do they require? Identify the employer's problems. Perhaps you want to go on the Better Business Bureau website and read about the company. What are the things that people say negatively about this company? Now, don't say to them, hey, I read that people really complain about. Don't do that. But find out those areas where the company is struggling, maybe customers have complained about, and beef those skills up on your resume. Go back. So here's kind of what I'm talking about here. Look for words that you know are a benefit to that company. I've circled those here under Assistant Professor of English at the Southeast Campus. So this is from my resume within the last couple of years. So I've circled things that I know are going to jump out that are keywords that Tulsa Community College values. I have circled those things here for you to see. So these are words that I used intentionally. Adaptive, meaning I'm flexible, I can change. In-person, online, blended, and online live classes. So every modality that TCC uses, I have experience in. Life skills, career skills, because this is what I'm passionate about teaching. And this is a community college, and the community college values the fact that we work with the community and we prepare our students to work in our community. And so therefore, career education is important to TCC. I know that. I incorporate that language into my resume. Student success in college and beyond TCC, mutual respect wherein critical thinking skills flourish. These are things TCC values, and I know this because I work here. I know my environment, but you can also find these things out by researching the company. Incorporate that language into your resume. Sometimes it will be your job experience and your volunteer work that is most important, and it will need to be at the top of your resume. Oh, I got ahead of myself. I'm reading that. I need to go back into this PowerPoint and add that section won't pop up until it's appropriate time. So let's go to the top here. Let's go down the page. Like it or not, employers will judge your resume in 6 seconds. I'm going to back that up with articles here in just a moment. 6 seconds. You put all this time into putting your resume together, and all they're going to spend on it is 6 seconds on average. Are you kidding me? How rude. Let Bart do what Bart's going to do, because Bart's going to just spend 6 seconds looking through all those resumes. Keep in mind the number 75, right? That was an important number for me. 75 potential candidates, potential resumes that Charlie Balmer has to flip through. He doesn't want to do that. So he's going to skim. He's going to spend 6 seconds, and he's going to, in that 6 seconds time, pick out the ones that he thinks he's most interested to look at and to talk to. You got to be able to stand out. So with that 6 second scan, we want to keep in mind that our most important information needs to come first on that resume. What makes you look best? For my position here at TCC, I knew that my education background was highly important. And so at the top of my resume, that's what you see. That's what's first. So education, formal. That's the very first thing you're going to see on my resume. Now, some of you have military background and you're applying for a position in a company that values veterans. You're going to want to have that toward the top. That could be in your summary. You might want to make sure that you have a summary statement at the top if you are a veteran and these companies that you're applying to value that status. Another reason why you might want to have a summary and keep this toward the top is if you are bilingual or trilingual. We don't want to put on your resume what languages you speak, but we do want to showcase, and even if you have American Sign Language as one of your languages, that counts. You are bilingual if you can do ASL and speak English. That is still bilingual. So we want to have that toward the top. But don't put what that additional language is or languages are on here. You want them to ask you about those in a job interview. So we want to showcase at the top if you are bilingual, trilingual, quadringual, if you're like our First Lady and can speak 6 languages, We want to get that information across at the top, in that top 1/3 of your resume document that's going to be scanned in 6 seconds of time. Ouch. Eek. Right? Holy cow. So how do we do that? We put our most important information first. What makes you look best? Maybe it's your certifications that make you look best. And so those of you that are in Comp 2 now, you see right here on this page, and we're going to see this again. We'll revisit this again. But you see right there under Education, Continuous and Certificates and Certifications, there's our Coursera courses. How do you put this information together on your resume? I'm giving it to you right here. We'll look at it again. So you see, People and Soft Skills for Professional and Personal Success Specialization Certification. I achieved this from IBM, January 2025. You better believe I turned right around and put this entire specialization on my resume and on my LinkedIn page. So there it is. How do you do it? Do it like this. Make yourself look amazing. So we add those certifications in. Some of you will have gotten those over January and February, so you put the appropriate dates down. Future classes, you might be looking at this video in the summer, you might be watching this in the fall. Whenever you finish these certifications, you want to have the appropriate dates there. Some of you are watching this video and you're not even one of my students. Build some certifications up in continuous learning. Find some places to do that. Add that information on your resume. It makes you look different. It makes you stand out. You look awesome sauce. So highly recommend put these things toward the top if that's what the company you want to work for values. What does that company value? Do they value your work experience more? Then start with your work experience. Whatever it is that makes you stand out, that's what you start with at the top of your resume. And some of you might feel like, but wait a minute, that means that every resume I create has to be different? Yes. Yes, it does. It needs to be company focused. What does that company value? That's what you put first. Okay. Now, we're going to talk more about that here in just a moment. But here again, we're looking at my resume. I'm sharing it with you. This is what I do. When I help students with resumes, they come out looking very similar to this. So pay attention to your typography. Times New Roman 12-point font is the standard. Mine is in an 11-point font because I have a lot of information. We do use bullet points, no paragraphs. Paragraphs are not going to get read. Remember, 6 seconds. 6 seconds. Don't give them a book. They don't want to read a book. Bullet points, they'll scan. We need to have bullet points that stand out. Use effective titles and keywords. So what are titles that are going to stand out? If you've been a customer service rep, but the company that you're applying for words that differently, how do they word it? Use that title. No pronouns on a resume. 0, none. This is fragments. This is clauses. No full sentences. No I, no you, no me, no they. Just state the information that needs to be on here and back out. Okay? Boom, boom. In and out. No full sentences on a resume. Look here. I mean, you can read through this. I'm not going to read it all to you. You can pause this and read through it if you'd like to. So I'm giving you a copy of this on Blackboard so that you have access to it and you can make yours look similar to it. With your own wording, of course, because you don't have my job. Now, some other things I want to point out. Put jobs in order of most recent as first to longest ago as last. Jobs go in order backwards. So we start with current, present, most recent, and then we move backward in order of position. Very important that you do this. They want to see what you're doing now or most recently first. Okay. Let's see on this page, another thing that I want to point out is your dates go on the far right, and I have circled those for you. Dates go on the far right. The reason for this, again, is that 6-second scan. Your employer is going to go across the top one third of the page and then down the right hand column. And in that right hand column, you want them to see the dates. I put them in bold when I'm helping someone with their resume because they need to stand out, they need to jump off. The employer wants to know how long you've been employed and what's your longevity like? Are you dependable? And so for some of us, we have been a little sketch with our work history. Eek. You need to be able to answer for any gap on your resume, and you need to be able to answer why your work history is not so long in some places. Some of us haven't been taking this seriously up to this point, and we've just been working willy-nilly. We get our feelings hurt, we quit. We don't like something, we quit. We've been moving around a lot. That's going to cause you not to look reliable. And as you move forward and you find a company that you really want to work for, that could trip you up. So it might be that we need to sit down and we need to come up with wording that's going to make you look like someone they want to talk to. It could get tricky, but we can do that if you want to. I had a young lady in class one time. This was at Vatterott, St. Charles campus years ago, probably 2012, 2013, because sometimes I taught at the St. Charles campus. She gave me her resume to help her edit it because she was feeling out of sorts. And I had an internal panic attack when I looked at her resume. This young woman had 10 jobs in 4 years. And I went, oh my God, how do I help her? Oh my God, 10 jobs in 4 years. Oh my, you look completely unreliable. But I decided to ask some questions. And so we sat down. And you know what I found out? I found out, even though she looked like she was in her mid 20s, that this young woman was 18. She's 18 years old. And I went, wait, 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 wait. You're 18? So you're just out of high school. And she's like, yeah, I just graduated last May. And I went, okay, hold on. You had all these jobs while you were in high school, all 4 years. And she's like, well, of course, I worked the whole time I was in school. Okay, all right, hold on here. So then I started asking her about each one of the positions and come to find out that it was substitute work, it was fill-in work, it was summer work, it was uh, winter break work. Like she stayed working the whole time she was in school, trying a variety of different things. She had connections with people that just had her help them for this job or that job. And so we were able to add in all of the appropriate wording that was necessary and make her look like a potential bomb diggity employee. Boom. Incredible. I would have hired her had I had a position she was interested in. Heck yeah, I would have employed this girl. She was incredible. But the thing was, without prior knowledge, without knowing anything about her beyond she was my student at the time, she brings me this resume. I'm thinking she looks 25. I'm thinking 10 jobs in 4 years. Oh, honey. Oh, honey. But come to find out that she was a straight A student who worked her entire time through high school. Man, we were able to make her look like fire. So those dates on the far right are very important, and your dates are important. So be thinking about that as you're building your resume over time. You might have gotten into a job that you don't really care for. You need to be thinking about your resume. You're going to have to find a way to make that work for you, or be able to answer for why you only worked there 3 months. Be able to give an answer that's going to not scare off a prospective employer. You need to take the time with it and put in the time. I'll tell you, when I first got the job at Vatterott, that wasn't where I wanted to teach. I didn't, but I knew I needed to start building my resume. And so when I was hired initially at Vatterott to teach English, I thought, you know what? I'm going to do this for 2 years. I'm going to spend the time. I'm going to do this for 2 years. I'm going to stick it out, regardless of how hard it is or how much I like it or don't like it. That didn't matter. I needed to build my resume because I wanted to end up working in a university. And so this was my starting ground. This was the place that was willing to bring me in the door. And so I stuck it out. I ended up working there for almost 9 years and doing adjunct classes at other schools. I was blessed to be able to do adjunct classes at Lindenwood University and at Brown Mackie and at Rankin, all great schools in that area, in the St. Louis area. Rankin is still an incredible school, as is Lindenwood University, and I have both of them on my resume, which I'm very proud of. Um, I'm also very proud to say that I was at Vatterott College for 9 years, off and on through my experience there, with some different things on my resume, going from the St. Louis area to the Tulsa area. 9 years. That makes me look reliable. And that's what we want to build. So I went into that with no intention of being there longer than 2 years because I was thinking forward. I was thinking about my resume and I knew I needed to put in that 2 year mark. But it ended up being so much more than that. And in my time there, I held multiple hats, multiple positions, and my resume showcases that. Of course, what we're looking at right here, this is everything under TCC. But if we were to pull up the Vatterott section, you would see that I have multiple positions there within that institution as well. And I'm grateful for it. I'm grateful for that experience. So dates go on the far right, and you need to be forward thinking. How can you continue to build this document, this living document that's going to make you look incredible? We also need to, and I've showcased this here, when you've held multiple positions within a company, you need to list them out in a way that makes sense. And so what I have done here under Tulsa Community College, you can see I have indented my positions there because I have held 3 now. Assistant professor of English, full-time English instructor. I was an interim English instructor for 1 year, meaning they hadn't pulled me on as full-time necessarily just yet, but I was in process to be that. And so I had a year where I was teaching full time, but just as an interim. So that's on here as well. And then my adjunct time. And so my time at TCC goes all the way back to August of 2017. And so you can see up here at the top where it's circled, it says August 2017 to present, which I am going in 9 years being at Tulsa Community College, which is very exciting for me. But next to the different positions, the full-time English instructor, that began August 2017. So even though I have the actual dates of the length of time I've been at TCC over there in the top right, all the way to the right-hand side of the page, the different positions, I've gone ahead and put those dates in italics next to the positions. So beginning August 2019, I was full-time English instructor, and then beginning August of 2020, I became an assistant professor of English. So now it needs to be changed from Southeast Campus to West Campus because I have moved campuses. So exciting, but your resume needs to be a living document. It changes and grows with you as you move along. And so you can see down there at the bottom with Tulsa Welding School, I only had 1 title there, so I did not indent that title. Okay, that's the difference. I was a career services advisor there from January of 2019 to August 2019. And during that time, I was an adjunct professor at TCC. So when Vatterott closed its doors in December of 2018, I had to look for another full-time position, and that's how I ended up at Tulsa Welding School while maintaining my adjunct position at Tulsa Community College because I wanted to end up at TCC, but I just wasn't full-time there yet. And so I took that position as a career services advisor, which I'm very grateful for that experience because it just furthered and deepened the love of career education that I had already been doing at Vatterott College. I learned more at Tulsa Welding School. Highly grateful for that experience. And I still am connected to a gentleman from Tulsa Welding School whose name is Chris, who is now the president of Tulsa Welding School. And I know that if I needed a recommendation, I could call upon Chris for that because in my time there, I did good work. And I walked away from there with recommendation still a possibility. And that's another thing. You don't want to burn bridges. Don't burn bridges in the places that you work because you want to be forward thinking. You want to be thinking about your future. People with emotional intelligence are going to be always forward thinking and understand you don't burn bridges in workplaces. Now, people that don't have high levels of emotional intelligence, you're going to be burning bridges left and right. You're going to get mad. You're going to be like, I'm out of here. This place sucks. They can stick it, right? Those aren't going to be people who are going to be real excited to be on your LinkedIn page or on your reference sheet. So be thinking about your future as you're putting together this document. Your experience matters. So I have those items on the left there a little out of order, need to adjust that. So again, talking about your job experience on your resume. Something that you want to be doing for yourself is explain the benefits of your skills by using achievements instead of responsibilities or duties. Now, you're going to want to list your responsibilities and duties, but if you can have some achievements, you want those first. Those need to go before responsibilities and duties. And so here's an example. This is again from my resume. Be the kind of an employee who gets noticed. I'm going to say that to you. Be the kind of employee who volunteers for things, who gets noticed. Be willing to say, oh, I'll do that, and begin to collect achievements, things that you've been able to accomplish in that role. In May of 2024, I was given an award that I wasn't looking for. I wasn't expecting. I had merely done a project that had excited me for my novel writing class, and my boss found out about it, and she ensured that I received the Faculty Innovation Award last May. It was very exciting to receive that, to get that recognition for the author series that I put together for my novel writing class, where I decided that my creative writing students needed to hear from more than just me when it came to talking about writing a book. And so I interviewed 9 individuals who have also written books and been published, and one of them being a publisher, and was able to put that together for my students. And like I said, my boss found out about it, and she was like, Daisha. And so she ensured that I received that award. So you want to work in such a way that you can collect achievements to put. I wasn't necessarily looking for that, but I did want to go above and beyond for my students, and things like that tend to end up getting noticed. So I also applied for a new role at TCC. So I was named Career Faculty Fellow, and that began in January of 2024. That is a role that I take very seriously. I'm very proud of here at TCC. And so I put that, of course, toward the top of the duties section on the resume. And so again, you want to be forward thinking. You want to be collecting this information. I became an honors faculty member, a creative writing faculty member, a scholarship review committee member. These things are important. I've added them here in the place of duties and responsibilities because they showcase who I am at TCC. And then we've got a duty. Then we have a responsibility. Create and teach. Introduction to creative writing, novel writing, poetry, Comp 1, writing foundations, and Comp 2 courses. Revising each semester according to student needs and new information in the communications and writing realm. So fantastic. Yes, you need duties and responsibilities on your resume, but as you can collect achievements, do so and add those things to your resume over time. Keep in mind on your resume, especially those of us with one-page resumes, you don't need to list all of your work experience, just what is relevant to the job you're applying for. And again, some of you are going to say, that means I have to make a new resume for every job I apply for. Yes, you do. Or get happy working for Bart. Just saying. Paper sack on our heads. We have to remember that. So tailor the resume for each job that you apply for. If you really want to work there, make sure that it is tailored to them. So you don't have to list all your work experience, just what is relevant to the job you're applying for. Don't include any irrelevant information. Make sure it is company focused. Use numbers. So if there are numbers that are written on your resume, don't use the word for the number, use the actual number itself. Numbers jump off the page. And remember, 6 seconds, 6 seconds, 6 seconds. You need those numbers to jump off the page at prospective employers. No pictures. No pictures on a resume. You cannot put your picture unless it's an industry where they want to see your face. I was helping my brother with his resume about 5 years ago. And for the ministry field, they do a curriculum vitae. And their curriculum vitae is a little different than the education field. In the education field, we do not put our pictures, but in the ministry field, it's a requirement to put your picture. And not just a picture of you, but also a picture of your family. I was horrified. I'm helping my brother do this, and I was horrified. He goes like, no, 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 we have to include this. I was like, ew, no, that doesn't seem right or fair. But we did it, and he ended up getting the job that he wanted. And it was very exciting to get to be part of that process with him. So depending on the field that you're applying for, no pictures, no graphics, unless it's something that that company will value. If you're going into a marketing field, there might be certain elements that you do want to include that other business fields do not want. Sometimes we are collecting badges, and we'll take a look. Well, we already have taken a look at that through GivePulse here at TCC. There are badges that you can acquire. And when you complete your IBM specialization, which by the time you see this video, you will have completed that, the IBM Corporation is going to give you a badge, or it's actually through Coursera that you completed the IBM course. And so there is a badge. Well, what do we do with this? We can add that to our physical resume if we so choose. And that is a picture that can be there. So understand that. Here's a smashing idea. A smashing idea. I love this. Something that you might want to consider doing. You should do. I'm saying do it. Is this. Create a generic resume, Word document, a generic one that contains all of your information. So all the information that you're going to have on your LinkedIn page, have a generic paper resume too that contains all of your information. This is one that you can add to, alter, update, delete from, change, or pick from per employee that you applied for, or employer that you apply for. Naturally, for some of us, this generic all-encompassing container of information will be much longer than one page, and it will grow over time. But use this as a house for all of your information that you can pick from, that you can cherry pick from per employer that you need to create a one-page resume for. Have somewhere a document that has everything on it. And never lose that. Always keep that. This is of vital importance to you so that you can track over time your information. And you use this as a house, as a research document, as a place where you can pull per employer the information that you can copy and paste onto a new document so that you are creating employer-centered resumes each time you apply for somewhere new. Oh, it's a beautiful idea, brilliant idea. It came to me like 2 years ago, and I went, oh, yes, because I was already doing this myself. I just hadn't told students to do this before. Well, now I'm going to tell students because the idea came to me, and I thought, oh, this is brilliant. We all should be doing this. So never let it be what you send to an employer, though. Don't send this generic house that contains everything. Don't send that. It is a generic resume. It is your go-to document. Heck yeah. Highly recommend. And from it, you create all of these other resumes and documents. So my suggestion then too is keep every individual resume that you create. Save them as what and who they are for on your computer and track your application and resume process. So on your computer, for me, I'm going to show this to you in a moment. And I don't know why I don't have it right there with this, but we're going to get to this just a moment. Keep every resume that you create. And remember, dates go on the far right. Avoid age discrimination. Oh, you might not like this, but it's just the truth. Do not put the year that you graduate from high school. Now, if there are things that you've done at high school
that are relevant to the job you're applying for, we, yes, do want to keep that information on there, but don't put the year you graduate. It tells the employer how old you are. I did this in a class I was teaching at uh, the St. Louis campus, the St. Charles campus for Vatterott years ago. I had some medical assisting girls in my class, and we were talking about resume information. And I told them not to put the year they graduated high school on their resumes. Well, one of these girls got so offended. She was so mad. She was so mad that she went to her department director and she was complaining that I was teaching them wrong things because their department leader had told them about resumes and had told them to put their high school graduation years on their resumes. And of course, she liked her department leader more than she liked me. So the department leader had to be right, and I was wrong. So she was just mad. Apparently, she was really mad. And one of her classmates came to me and she's like, "Oh, Miss Dacia, you need to know that this is being talked about in the other room." And I said, "Okay. I don't care. You do you, boo." Because here's the thing, age discrimination exists. And those of you that are on the younger side, you want to keep in mind, do you want them to know that you're only 18? Or do you want them to maybe think you're 25? Remember, I had that young lady I was helping. I thought she was in her 20s. I really did. She carried herself very well. But I found out she was 18. I was blown away. It was incredible. But you don't want to age discriminate yourself. And employers will discriminate based on age. They have that right. Remember, paper sack on your head? All that matters is that the work gets done. So don't let them think that you're younger than you are or that you're older than they want you to be. I'm 52 years old right now as I'm making this video. You better believe I'm not telling anybody that I graduated high school in 1990. You better believe that's not on my resume. But if there was something from my time period at Macalester High School that would be beneficial to me on a resume, I'll put that I was on the yearbook staff. I'll put that I was in the psychology club. If it's going to make me look good, that I was in the National Honor Society, that I graduated 7th in my class out of 216 students, that I had a 4.33 GPA, if that information from high school is going to help me in a potential job situation, then I'm going to put that information on my resume. But not that I graduated in 1990. No, 35 years ago. Wow. Oh, I've gotten old. You guys, you're going to turn around one day and go, how did that happen? How are all of my children adults? What? How did that happen? I don't know how that happened. I was just in high school. I remember it as if it was yesterday. We're talking about right now, my high school friends and I were getting a get together for this summer. And I just thinking, 35 years, man, some of you guys got big. It's a terrible thing to say. I can't believe I said that out loud. Look at my hair. My hair turned white. When we were in high school, my hair was black. I show up and they go, "You're like a negative of yourself." Photo negative. I know. Oh, don't put high school on your resume unless it benefits you. And your GPAs from your education only go on your resume if they're a 3.5 or higher. So there's a bit from mine down there at the bottom. I had a 3.88 for my master's degree, and that was only because one professor and I didn't see eye to eye, so he gave me a B. So mad about that still. My second bachelor's, I had a 4.04, so I'm very proud of that. Of course, that's on here. And my Bachelor of Christian Education was a 3.51 from Ozark Christian College. I graduated from there in 94, but I'm not going to put that date on here. It ages me. With a 3.5, I'll tell you, I was 4th in my class. That was a difficult education. That was a high standard college education. And I was 4th in my class with 3.51. So I'm proud of that.
but only put it on there if it's 3.5 or higher. If you are currently in school, you can put anticipated graduation date. Okay, and you might want to put that on there. Let's say you're at Tulsa Community College right now. You would want to include the anticipated graduation date to let them know that you're not finished with that degree just yet. Mine, I'm finished with. I have final GPAs, and I don't have to put when I graduated. They can ask me about that in an interview, or that will be on an application. Showcase those certifications and volunteer work that you do. So your continuous education, your certificates, your volunteer work, any of that information, you want to showcase that on your resume if it will be of value to your prospective employer and if you need to take up space on your resume. So again, if you haven't had a lot of work history yet, but you can gain some of these certifications while you're in school, let's do it. Let's do it. Let's build that resume. And then as you grow forward in your work history and you build your work history, you can determine what you keep and what you let go of from these certifications. But if you're building strong certifications, like we're doing with our Comp 2 class, this is information you might want to keep on here because it makes you look attractive to a prospective employer when you're building your emotional intelligence and when you are building your soft skills, your people skills, your success skills. So I told you again, or I told you earlier that we would look at this again. When you complete the Coursera course that we are doing in Comp 2, here's how that can look on your resume. So if you want to screenshot this, stop the video, take a picture, write this down, get your computer open, add this into your resume. This is what it looks like on mine. This is a great way to put it together. So I have others, but this is for our specific course. This is this certification that we are getting. And I put it together this way for myself. So you can do the same thing. Yes. So a brilliant idea, going back to something I was starting to talk about a few minutes ago, but keep every resume that you create and label them according to place of application. So you might want to put resume, Tulsa Community College, resume, Tulsa Welding School, resume, wherever it is that you're applying to. Label each as where you are sending that resume. Keep them in a file on your computer. So this is what my files look like. I keep all of this in my OneDrive, so it's everywhere I go. I have access to these everywhere I go. Anywhere there's the internet, I can pull up all of this resume information. You see my different files here. There's my file, my resume file, and I'll show you what it contains here in a moment. My kids' resumes. I've got resumes that I've done for almost all of my children. My youngest one hasn't done the job thing yet, so I don't have his name in there just yet. But all 5 of my other children, plus my bonus son, Joey, their resumes are housed there in that file, so I can access them anytime, and I keep them updated as well. My husband's file. So his resume information is all housed there. Any information that's vital for him in the workplace, we keep it there. And then I have my resume and interview skills, my teaching file, all of the information that I have used for years since 2011 to teach job skills is housed in this file. And I add to it, I organize it over time. There's a lot of information in there. And then the resumes that I have done for other people. I have a file that's large that contains all the resumes that I've worked on for others that I saved. Not every resume that I've ever done, because I've done hundreds, if not thousands, of resumes, whether I've created them myself or I've helped people edit them. There have been many, many over the years, and so a lot of them are housed in that file. Let's go ahead and take a look inside my file. Inside my file, I have organized it this way. There's the cover letters. So under the cover letter file, all of the different cover letters that I've sent are labeled according to which company they were sent to. Educational philosophy, I have to have that for education purposes. I use that in my portfolio and for applying for the position that I have now. my educational philosophy is in there. And it has changed over time. I edit it. I have another copy. There's more than one copy in there. Recommendation letters that I have collected, they're in this file. So if you have professors, employers write recommendation letters for you, keep them in a file here that goes right with your resume information. Your references, I've got a reference file where I house different reference sheets that I've put together. I have a generic reference sheet that's got about 10 different names on it. And then depending on what I might be applying for, I will pick and choose which of those references should be on the one that gets turned in. With each reference sheet that you do use in an application process, you want to have a minimum of 3. So if you don't already have 3 people on a generic list, you want to begin to think about who can you add to that list, people that you can rub elbows with, that you might want to start collecting names and get that generic list so that when the time comes, you can build a solid reference sheet. And then there's my resume file. And in there, all of the resumes that I have done over the years. I'm going to show you that here in just a moment. The next one is transcripts and certifications. So my college transcripts are housed in this file. You want to keep those forever. I have my college transcripts from Ozark Christian College in there and my transcripts from Lindenwood University. I also have all the certifications that I have received throughout the years are housed in that file, and I can access them easily. Outside of the resume file, I have copies of my most current CV, my curriculum vitae. And so you can see August 2023 and January 2024. Obviously, the January 2024, actually, there's a more recent version now, but this screenshot was from last year. So I have a January 2025 in there now, and those have been moved into the resume file. So what does the resume file look like? Well, when you first open it up, it looks like this. Well, it did. It doesn't now. But the more recent ones had been there, and you can see the 2010 through 2020 file has everything else. And there's my 2010 through 2020 file. It contains every resume that I put together and I sent out over the years. For a long time, I wasn't labeling those as the companies that they were being sent to. And now that's a frustration to me because I can't look at these lists and just know where each one of these was purposed for, which is why I'm telling you to save them with the name of the company that you're sending them to so that you can track that over time. All I can see here, you can see I did that for the U.S. Army resume. And then there's a teaching one. But I didn't put the company names on here, and I wish that I had. So my suggestion to you is to, for each company that you are sending that resume to, label it that way, save it that way, so that you can, over time, keep track of where you've applied and where you have not. So 1-page resume, this is what mine looks like. If I was to put together just a 1-page resume, I would keep it very simple. Got my education on there and the most relevant work experience. Very simple, clean, easy to read, bullet points, dates on the far right. Very simple. Now, you will have a copy of that available to you because this is what I want you to model your resume off of, is this very resume. The verbs, let's pay attention to the verbs in this. As you look down the bullet points under experience, we've got create and teach. Well, create, teach, foster, utilized, provided, placed, used, assessed, demonstrated, awarded, honored, led, mentored, coordinated, appointed, received, built, processed, advised. You see how every one of those is different all the way down the resume. This is a resume writing rule. Every verb next to a bullet point is different. If you find when you've put your resume together, if you find you have used a verb twice, a second time, you need to change one of them. It's part of resume writing. This is one of those things that can get your resume kicked out of the running. Something as simple as this. We want to be on top of that. So those are all of the verbs from my curriculum vitae. I went through my actual curriculum vitae, which is longer than a one-page resume, and I pulled out all of my verbs. None of them repeat each other. So in my curriculum vitae, I'm just going to go ahead and read the list because I think they're wonderful. But these are my verbs: awarded, utilized, showcased, took, built, marketed, instructed, named, provided, met, led, processed, developed, networked, create, placed, worked, mentored, advised, managed, mentored. Oh, we have mentored twice. I have to catch that. We're going to go into it. We're going to take a look at that because that cannot be. Adapt, used, prioritized, coordinated, acted, effected, combined, teach, assessed, presented, appointed, produced, brought, guaranteed, foster, demonstrated, honored, received, traveled, motivated, conducted. So these are the verbs from my curriculum vitae, and I'm wondering if I actually have mentored on there twice, which I should not, or if I inadvertently typed it twice. You could see I went across because all of the ones that are present tense, those are my current position. When you are putting your resume together, your current position is in present tense. The rest of them go in past tense. So here they are in what it looks like present day. There's mentored at-risk students. I don't see mentored twice. I must have inadvertently written it down twice because it is not listed here twice. Okay. Pretty cool stuff. Look at all those verbs. Every one of them's different. And that's what you need to have on your resume as well. Oh, I spoke too soon. There it is. So I'm going to need to go in and take a look at that. I may have already changed that. I may have caught that while I was doing this and then kept it in here to showcase that for you. I think that's what I did, but I don't know. I need to take a look at that and see if I need to change that. I mean, I do need to change that. So your verbs are different all the way down the page. Remember, the purpose of your resume is to get attention. And so make sure you're using those right verbs. Make sure that you're searching the ad and the websites for appropriate verbiage as well. Use the verbs that the company uses. So there's my one-page resume and reference sheet. This is what they look like. Again, they have the same header. And this is what you want to be putting together. You're going to be doing this for homework. You're going to be creating a one-page resume, and it needs to follow this format. And you'll have a one-page reference sheet with a minimum of 3 references on it. And if you don't have, and I'll go over this here in a few minutes, if you don't have 3 references, you can make a couple up, but you need to be thinking forward-thinking and be able to create, add some references that are actually going to speak up for you as you move forward. And that's my curriculum vitae. That's what it looks like most currently. And you could actually look here to see mentored. It's on there twice. I need to go in and fix that. I'm going to edit my resume as soon as I finish this talk. Anything that's been made can be edited. Anything that's been written can be edited. There's the proof right there. I've been teaching this for 15 years and checked that out. That must have just happened in one of my editing stages and I did not catch it. So I have caught it now. That will be altered. So that's my curriculum vitae, which is not what we're going to be creating. Now, here's an example of PDF being transferred or a Word document being transferred into another program. If you look here in the middle page toward the middle down here, it looks like Career Services Advisor in Tulsa Welding School. All of that looks like it's a different font, different size. When you pull the actual document up, it's not. It looks the complete same. But when I did a screenshot and transferred it here into PowerPoint, it does this. I did it more than once and it still did it. Why? I don't know. But we have to be careful when we are using a Word document, putting it into another program, because if we're not using a PDF, it has a tendency to go. And that's what this is. This is a screenshot of a Word document. So I don't know why it did that. I tried to fix it. It did not fix it. Interesting. So just something to note. Reminder regarding certifications, memberships, volunteer work on my curriculum vitae. This is what this looks like. Different memberships and appointments that I hold currently at this stage in my life. Now, this is going to change and alter as time goes on. And as those things occur, I will change my resume accordingly. So those are memberships and appointments. And here's continuing education along with my formal education. So over time, you can see the different certifications that I have received, and I have added those to my resume, with the most recent being our specialization. Here, I just put the actual, I put this together before I completed the entire specialization from IBM, this actual screenshot, but the one that you saw a little while ago holds the whole specialization on that here under continuing ed. So, but this is what this can look like. And then you need to have the documents to back all of these up as well. So I have here at my computer, I'll just show you. I have a file folder. Maybe you can't read that, it's kind of white, but this is my file folder that contains all the physical copies of my certifications. And so you want to have that. You want to have that on the computer as well. I showed you on the computer too, but sometimes the awards that we're given are paper copies and they're not actual digital. And so I have both files. I have the online file in my OneDrive, and then I have my paper file as well. So for each one of these certifications or memberships that I have the paperwork to back it up. So you want to make sure that you're keeping that information for yourself. Reminder, if you have more than one role in an organization, a great way to handle that is just to indent all of the job titles. So they're just, everything there under that company is moved in. Watch out for scattered information on your resume. Make sure that you fix it and that it is chronological in backward order. Make the design flow with white space. You always want to have white space on these documents so that they have breathing room. Keep in mind that resume is going to be looked at in 6 seconds. Proofread a thing at least a minimum of 3 times. Even so, I've been doing this for a long time and I just found something I need to go in and edit. I'm going to make sure that I fix that. Read it out loud. When we read things out loud, we catch things that our eyes don't see. Get someone else to review your resume, especially someone who works at the company that you want to apply for, if you can do that. If you can do that, do that. If you are going to use paper copies, make sure that you're using a good printer. Use the same paper as your cover letter and your reference sheet. Make sure that they match. And remember, the image that you create with your resume must match the salary and responsibility level that you are aiming for. Can you answer this question? Are you worth it? Your documents should show that you're worth it. So here's that 6-second information. I keep mentioning 6 seconds. This is from Indeed.com. How long do employers look at resumes? On average, employers look at resumes for 6 to 7 seconds. However, the amount of time that an employer spends looking at a resume varies from company to company. Some employers may thoroughly scan a resume while others may scan it for only a few seconds. The number of applicants for a particular position can also play a factor in this assessment. So I'm not going to read the whole article here, and the link to it is down at the bottom of the page. You can look this up on your own as well, but I wanted you to see that this is verifiable information. This is not just me spouting this off. This is from Indeed, and here is a similar article that I found on LinkedIn. An eye tracking study among recruiters, how to pass the initial resume screening. And so you can find this article at that link here on this screen. Again, here, same thing. The most striking conclusion, recruiters spend only 6 seconds reviewing an individual resume during initial screening. Now, when you talk to our career services department, the information that they give you says 8 seconds. Regardless if it's 6 or 8, that's not very long. And what are employers looking at? The name of the candidate, the current position and company, the current position start and end dates, previous position and company, previous position start and end dates, and education. Those are the number one things that employers are looking for in their 6 to 8 second scan, according to LinkedIn. And again, you can go to career services and get similar information. They'll give you their resources, but you're going to find very similar information. It is not a long, lengthy time period that an employer is going to look at your resume, no matter how much time you spent putting it together. Doesn't matter, but you still want to tailor it to each resume or to each company so that you catch attention in that 6-second scan. Very important. Now, references, we're not going to talk about references for very long, but your reference list needs to be people who can speak about your work and your work ethic. Again, if you don't have these people yet, develop relationships with teachers and others who might serve in this capacity. Highly recommend professors as a recommendation, especially when you're thinking about moving forward in your education levels. Professors are good for this. But also you want to be thinking about employers. I tell my own children, don't be buddy-buddy with your colleagues at work, your peers at work. Get in good with your managers because managers are references. Coworkers are not. So be forward-thinking when you're at work. And you want to have this page match your resume and cover letter in format. Same header on each. Now you want to put together each of your references similar to this on the bottom here. We've got the person's name, their current position, a phone number, an email address, their LinkedIn ID, and how you knew them. So that's 6 lines per reference. And you want to put these together in last name alphabetical order. It will look something like this. So you will be putting one of these together for an assignment this weekend. So it needs to look very much like this one. So the job packet, you are going to be putting together a cover letter and it needs to match this one in format. Some of you are not going to have watched this video lecture. And when you get to this assignment, that's cover letter, resume, and a reference sheet, you're going to just turn in willy-nilly whatever you want. And I will be giving those back to those individuals with zeros on them. The assignment is to create new documents that match the ones that I've discussed in this video lecture. We want to match those. So that's what I'm looking for. I want to see that you can create brand new documents yourself that are going to be of benefit to you, not templates. So again, it's very easy for me to see who has watched the video lecture and who has not, based upon what gets turned in for this assignment. Oh my. So we're going to be doing a cover letter, which needs to look very similar to this. A resume, which will look very similar to this, and I'm giving you copies of each one of these, and a reference sheet, which will look very similar to this. But of course, you need a minimum of 3. All right, awesome. So what's coming next is beyond exciting. Are you ready? I don't even remember what's coming next. Oh, yes, I do. jobready.tulsacc.edu. This is a great site. This is something our career services team is making available to you. This is a site that you can make yourself an account, upload the resume that you have created, and you can get some assistance with it. All right. You answer the questions as you're creating your account. I created an account and I uploaded my CV. Then it's going to give me some suggestions. Now, this is where AI does come into play, but you want to start with the resume that you've already created yourself, your own words, and then kind of see if it gives you suggestions. Maybe you want to make some adjustments based on its suggestions. Perfectly fine if you do. But when you get it all ready together, you can even have it create you a summary based off of all of the information on your resume. and then add the company's name to it. Or you can create a new one here on the Job Ready site. It'll walk you through each of the stages and you fill in the information. It will help you create your resume. Then meet with a career services advisor. Once you have your resume together, make an appointment with a career services advisor so they can go over this further with you and help you look for jobs. Job Ready has a job board, and there are jobs available here as well as on Handshake, which Handshake is the next thing here. We already have our Handshake accounts, but employers can look for you on Handshake, and you want to take advantage of that as well. So you upload your resume to Handshake as well. So do visit Career Services. That is their website, hiretccgrads.com. It will also take you to that same spot that I showed you how to get to weeks ago, where you can access it through student resources on your student account page. So Career Services team, they are awesome, and they are here to help you. They can help you with jobs EQ, assessment, resume assistance, interview skills, etc., and so forth. Highly recommend. Application of all of this information. Number one, know your vision. Where are you headed in life? Or at least have an idea. Create your LinkedIn account. Hold on just one moment. All right, we want to build a letterhead that will showcase you per resume, cover letter, and reference list. Formulate a generic resume that you can alter and update per employer that you'd like to work for. Edit, update, alter as needed. From the generic resume, craft a one-page document tailored to the company and save with the company's name as part of the saved name, i.e. Daisha Cunningham resume, Tulsa Community College. Construct a cover letter that is company requirement need specific. Generate a reference list that will assist you per company, and find yourself in interviews for jobs and careers that you want. Find your success. So your homework, if you are in this class, is the discussion thread, resumes and cover letters. The cover letter, resume, and reference sheet packet, which the next screen holds that information. And upload your cover letter, resume, and reference to Handshake, screenshot, and post to Handshake discussion thread. So let's move forward. One more thing here. Cover letter, resume, and reference sheet assignment. So you're going to craft a job packet containing a cover letter, a resume, and a reference sheet, potential of 40 points. The requirements for the assignment: create a letterhead, which is the same letterhead for all 3 pages. Have your cover letter match the format of the example cover letter given in the lecture, only with your information. Have your resume match the format of the resume example given in the lecture, only with your information. And have your reference sheet match the format of the reference sheet example given in the lecture, only with your information. You may use jobready.tulsacc.edu to help craft your resume. All right. And that brings us to the end of this PowerPoint presentation and all of this fantastic information. Again, I love teaching this. This is an incredible opportunity for me to get to share this information with you. If you are in this class, I'm looking forward to seeing the products that you create. And my intent is to make comments and send those back to you so that we can get you headed on the right direction. So if you're not in this class and you're watching this information, I hope that it's been beneficial for you as you move forward in your chase of your chosen career. So with that, I am going to sign off. Thank you for spending this time with me.